What is going on? Hello, good morning. I know you guys are so used to seeing me in the evening time. And yes, here I am. Up is here in the morning time. Congratulations to everyone who's actually here, participating, like all that. Welcome to the old-fashioned sports show with your host, Anwar Richardson. I know you guys got a lot of questions. I know there's a lot of questions to be had, a lot of questions that you guys are actually wanting to get into, and I will get into it. Listen, I got 3 hours. I got nothing but time. I mean, I will get into it. I'll answer all your questions here today. Listen, I'll give you a format of the show. Blake, you're going to be mad at me. I actually just realized I never plugged in my microphone. So during the break, I will actually plug in my microphone and it'll be a lot better. The sound will be a lot better. Everything will be really good. But listen, before we get started, before we start on any single thing, just want you guys to know, the first segment, there's going to be 3 segments in each hour, okay? The first segment is what's going to be called the opening drive. Second segment is going to be the Speakeasy Lounge, where I'm going to have my guests. Third segment in the first hour is going to be buy or sell, okay? So that's what we got laid out for the first hour, okay? Second hour, it's going to be the second quarter huddle. Second segment, we're going to have another guest. By the way, the first guest is going to be Jeff Ketch. We're going to talk about a lot of changes that are here on the channel. Second segment is going to be the Speakeasy Lounge. Third segment, you guys are going to love this, by the way. I'm excited about this. I call it my social media standouts. That's right. All the people who are on social media, who tweet stuff, put things on Instagram, Facebook, the Longhorn fans, Longhorn Nation, I am going to highlight their tweets, aka your tweets, and put them up on the screen and talk about them. Because I got no hate in my heart. I'm super excited to talk about that. Now, in the hour number 3, we'll talk about the fourth quarter blitz, the Speakeasy Lounge. Jason Suchomel will be on, and then we'll have the final drive. Lots of different segments that are going to go on. Lots of different topics to talk about. And so I'll get into a couple little things real quick before I get into what my opening statements are. Because I know someone's going to ask real quick, what does this mean for Drunk Unk? What does this mean for Unk on Wednesday nights? Well, listen, what it means is you're going to see me every morning from 8 to 11 o'clock. That's what that really means, okay? What it means for Drunk Unk, I'll have some pop-up shows here and there. So just know I'll have some pop-up shows. Every once in a while I'll be able to do it. But from 8 to 11, carry on my normal duties. It's going to be hard to do that show. But 8 to 11 is going to be our primetime stop. This is where it is. This is where you absolutely find me every single day. Hangovers or no hangovers. I just want to go. I take the purple pills, not the blue pills, the purple pills. Make sure I feel good. You will see me here every single day with this format. And by the way, I can't say anything. I've been sworn to secrecy. And listen, if this had been like 6 in the evening, 7 o'clock, Tito's would have kicked in. I would have revealed everything. But I will tell you this, there's going to be 2 more shows that are revealed today. 2 more shows that are revealed today. And let me tell you, it's going to be absolute fire. I will never oversell you on anything, but I am letting you know that we're going to have, after I go off, there's going to be about an hour break. There's going to be a show that comes on from 12 to 3 o'clock. It's going to be an amazing show. And then from 3 to 6, if there was a Mariano Rivera closer, Enter Sandman music, I am telling you, Enter Sandman from 3 to 6. I wish I could tell you. They'll get so mad at me. We've had all these production meetings. In all these production meetings, they've been, oh, no, we can't say anything. You can't reveal anything. And I've been so mad. They will tell you, I've been so mad that I haven't been allowed to say anything about what's about to come. All I can tell you is that I'm excited about 12 to 3, but I am telling you 3 to 6 is going to be off the chain as well. There's going to be so many good shows. 9 hours of live broadcasting here daily. I cannot wait for it. I know you cannot wait for it. And we'll have Jeff Ketch coming in probably the next 15 minutes, around 8:20. So let me get into the first segment. I just want to jump into the show. I didn't want to jump into any explanations of the show, this and that. I just want to jump into the show, give you guys something to talk about, marinate on. Let's absolutely get into it. It is the opening drive. And the opening drive is brought to you by my main man, my sponsor, El Presidente, Eric Torres, a.k.a. Eric Sells Homes DFW. If you are looking for a home in the DFW area, look no further than my man, El Presidente, Eric Sells Homes DFW. You're looking to buy a home, you're looking to sell a home. My man has got you covered. He's a Longhorn fan, longtime listener. He's always a caller. You hit my main man, Eric Sells Homes DFW up. If you need him for any single thing, hit up Eric Sells Homes. Listen, it's about that time in summertime. Kids going back to school soon. This is prime time. Go get your house. Go ahead and get ready. Get everything done. And by the way, I hope you guys like the new backdrop. And one of the things I think you guys are going to like about my new backdrop, especially if you're a Texas fan, right over here, this credential, got all my credentials behind me. This credential is the 2022 Texas versus Oklahoma game. Just take a mental note. Every time you get on my show, just know this is Texas OU 49-0. Just know every time you're on this show, you have a reason to smile. It's not going to be because of my pearly whites. It's going to be because of that thing over there. You're absolutely going to love it. 49-0. What way to start your morning other than 49-0? And by the way, here's the other way we're going to start. Texas football. They get kicked off today. Texas football gets kicked off today. The first practice is going to be today. Training camp gets started. I know you guys cannot wait. I cannot wait. I'm super excited about that. We had Steve Sarkisian yesterday. He was speaking to the media. He made his assistants available to the media yesterday. Yes, Frank Cruz, I see you 49-0. OU sucks. What better way to start off your morning? And he made his coordinators available to the media yesterday. Had a chance to talk to Kyle Flood. Had a chance to obviously talk to Jeff Banks. Had a chance to talk to Pete Kwiatkowski. Shout out to PK. You know, can I say this about PK? If there's ever a person I feel for, who I don't really know on a personal level, but if there's ever a person I feel for the most, it is Pete K. I mean, because PK has been damned if you do and damned if you don't. And I feel like every time, before I get into the things I want to talk about, but I feel like every time the subject of PK comes up, there's this shadow that's always looming over him, and the shadow of Gary Patterson. And I always feel like, man, what does this man have to do to get his props, just to get his respect? What does this man have to do? Like, and I feel for him, because year one, you would say to yourself, man, growing pains. He inherits a team that isn't his, players that aren't his, and they're trying to build for the future. They're trying to get this program off to a place that they really want it to be. And of course, we've seen throughout the years, growing pains. Well, I guess we didn't really see the growing pains with Charlie Strong. But we got to see the growing pains with Tom Herman. We just got to see pains for Charlie. Golly, what happened, Charlie? Good Lord. Good Lord. But nonetheless, there were growing pains in that year for what he was trying to build. It just never got built. There was growing pains, obviously, with Tom Herman in what he was trying to build. And then last year, when Steve Sarkisian gets here, of course, there's growing pains. That thing happens. Growing pains are expected. And yet, all we heard going into last year was, man, PK, how long is that guy going to last? PK, what's he going to be able to do? Like Pete K. And I felt like, man, I know the mob is great. I know the pylon is there. Like I always get that. but I always had like a soft spot for this guy. And again, I don't know him. I'm just that person that doesn't like to see people get picked on. That's just like when I was in school, I was that person that would stand up for somebody else and say, man, leave that person alone. Like, don't pick on that guy. And that's how I felt about PK. And the whole time, all he heard was about Gary Patterson. And so last year, what happens? Gary Patterson gets a lot of the credit for what happens. You think to yourself, but Gary Patterson doesn't call games. Now, Gary Patterson did something really good, really great last year. And I will give Coach Patterson a ton of credit. He was the guy that was really instrumental in the game planning of last year, and specifically the Alabama game. Like he was a guy that went, studied, worked that thing out. Gary Patterson was awesome at providing the information. Like when it came from a game planning perspective, he was absolutely phenomenal, absolutely fantastic. And for that, I give Gary Patterson a ton of credit. But the guy who actually called the plays in the game was PK. And this is a guy who went from being up in the booth to down on the field. Like, and that's a weird thing with coaches. The comfort thing, the familiarity thing. Tom Herman was a guy when he decided to take over play calling duties because the things wasn't working with his former OC. The thing about Tom that he had this issue with was that Tom was used to calling plays from up in the booth, and he had to move down to the field. And he was uncomfortable. One of the reasons why he didn't want to do it, because he was just used to being up there. A lot of people like to be the eyes in the sky. Some of you guys are former coaches who are listening to this thing. You guys know what I'm saying. Some of you guys, and when I say coaches, I mean coaches on every level. Now, I just mean college coaches, high school coaches, youth varsity coaches. Like, you guys understand, like, some of you guys like to be in the booth. You like to look down. You can see the plays unfold. Seeing it on the field, sometimes you don't get to see everything. And so you don't get to see how things unfold. You don't get to see how everything goes. And so because of that, there becomes like a little bit of unfamiliarity with how you're doing this and how you're going to move into this new space, the new landscape, all that kind of stuff, right? And so Pete K had to move from up to the booth down to the field. And when it was all said and done, he did a really good job. He did a really good job of play call. I thought the Bama play calling last season was off the charts. And I'm telling you, as a guy that I'm not easily impressed. I'll just be honest with you. I'm not easily impressed. Yes, I have been married a bunch of times. That's nothing to do with the conversation. I am not easily impressed outside of the relationship conversation. And I'm not easily impressed. But that Bama play calling, there's always this thing about the Bama game for me. That will always, and I've equated the Bama game last year to Rocky. You guys remember the Rocky series? The Rocky series is when the underdog, Rocky, goes against Apollo Creed, right? And that underdog who's trained, that no one gives a chance, no one thinks has an opportunity, no one thinks could be that person that could beat Creed in this kind of exhibition, fun little match. And next thing you know, Rocky goes out and he gives it his absolute all, balls to the wall. He doesn't win the fight. But you're left wondering what could have been had there been more time. And I've been left wondering since last year, what could have been had the injury to Queen Ewers not happened? What could have been? Because in my belief, Texas wins that game. It's because of how good Quinn was playing, but more importantly, how that defense was just getting after it. Those guys, and I'm talking about all those guys on that line, Sorrell, you name it, all the linebackers, and I'm talking about the guys who aren't there, Keandre, Morrow, like all those guys were getting after it, getting absolutely after it. And it was a perfect play call, perfect design / strategy by Gary Patterson, of course, perfect play call by Pete K to be able to hold Alabama as close as they did for so long. They made the #1 overall draft pick at quarterback, Bryce Young, look like just a guy for at least 3 quarters. They can only do so much, right? You can only do so much without some offense, right? It was impossible. And at the end of the day, yes, he makes the plays. That thing happens. They end up going to win the game. But for 3 quarters or more, Pete K and that defense, they made Bama look like mortals. And so when they go on the road this year, I'm all about like, hey, this is Rocky 2. This is the chance to see what happens when all things are equal, all things are the same, all things are fair. What happens when this team goes on the road? That's why I have no problem with what Jeff Banks said yesterday. I know people are giving Jeff Banks a lot of crap for what he said yesterday about trying to say it's just another road game. You know what, though, Jeff Banks? I'll be the one to say it for you. That it's okay. It's okay if you want to treat it like it's just another road game. Because you know why you have to do what Jeff Banks said? You know why Jeff Banks, even though people give him a lot of crap, he's the whipping boy here of the Texas coaching staff. I get it for all those silly little reasons, Monkeygate, right? All the little things that they go personal, which I don't think people should ever go personal in people's relationships, stuff like that. She's a wonderful woman. Like, leave her alone, right? But people give him a lot of crap. But you know why I have no problem with what Jeff Banks said when he's like, it's just a harder game as Kansas or Iowa State or anything like that? Because at the end of the day, what Texas can't do, what Texas cannot do, is go on the road this year to Alabama and act like, oh my God, we're facing Alabama. They can't afford to do that. That's not something they can do. They can't be there shivering their freaking boots, thinking to themselves, oh my God, what are we going to do? We're facing Alabama. Oh my God. No. I got no problem with what Jeff Banks said. I got no problem with anything they did. And by the way, that's why I go back to, I got no problem with Pete K. That guy deserves a lot of props. He deserves a lot of respect. He deserves a lot of your love, Texas Longhorn fans. That's what that guy does. That's what this guy does. And when this camp gets started off, by the way, he's going to have probably one of the more talented defenses that you guys have seen on the 40 acres in a long time. One of the more talented defenses that you guys have seen. With the guy, and there's going to be some unknowns. But I think what we've got to start doing as relates to the staff is we've just got to, at some point, just give them the benefit of the doubt. Because last year we went into this. Remember the biggest question last year was? Biggest question last year was, what's Texas going to do at linebacker? Wasn't that the big question? Who do they got? What do they got? They got anybody besides the Marvion Overshow? Like, what's going to happen? And oh yeah, you know what happened? Jalen Ford happened, right? Right, Jalen Ford happened. Oh, just so happened that just out of the blue, this guy ends up being one of the best linebackers in the country, right? So I think at some point we've got to start giving this team the benefit of the doubt. We've got to give guys like Pete K the benefit of the doubt. And at the end of the day, it's time to give Pete K his damn respect. That's what this absolutely boils down to. It's time to give Pete K some damn respect. And by the way, that's the opening drive. That's my opening drive. And by the way, that actually was unscripted. I actually did not plan to talk about that because I planned to talk about something else. So just so you know, I'll get to my other thought in a second. Here's what's going to happen in this first hour, okay? For those who are just new, you're just now joining the show, we're going to go to a break, but it's not a commercial break. This break is unlike any break you've ever seen. I'm talking about, we're going to get into that. And after that, we're going on the other side. Jeff Ketch is going to get on here. We're going to talk a little things about the channel, talk about the first day of practice. And then in the third hour, or third segment of the first hour, we're going to have buy or sell. Just give you a rundown. For those who are just joining me now, the first hour is my opening drive. Second segment is going to be the Speak Easily Lounge. That's going to be the guest segment. Third segment is going to be buy or sell. So get your questions in the chat right now. If you got questions for me, get those things fired up, get those things ready. I will answer that in the third segment. Second hour, second quarter huddle. Second segment is going to be the Speak Easy Lounge. Third segment, social media standout. The tweets, things on social media that have been standing out that I'm going to address, I'm going to talk about, I'm going to put them on the screen. Go ahead. Listen, we've already got a list of things, but if you've seen some really good tweets that have been out there or your tweets that you went out there, just email me real quick, okay? NFL Anwar at yahoo.com. I should probably change that at some point because I haven't covered the NFL in damn near 10 how many years, even though I've got my Hall of Fame certificate right here, but haven't done that in a while. And then third hour, fourth quarter bit, Speakeasy Lounge, final drive. Watch this break, guys. You're absolutely going to enjoy it, and I'll be back in 2 minutes. Let's go. Go ahead and do it, Blake. Go ahead and get this thing started. It's going to be absolutely amazing.
One of our very first Orangebloods recruiting flashbacks will focus on a player that went on to become one of the best running backs in the history of the sport. Jamal Charles was a high 4-star prospect by Rivals.com when he signed with the Longhorns in 2005, finishing number 57 overall in the Rivals 100 and number 4 overall in the state of Texas. Personally, I had Jamal Charles as a 5-star prospect on my Lone Star Recruiting Top 100 list, but I have to admit that I wasn't head over heels in love with him the first time I watched his junior film as a prospect. It's hard for me to admit this out loud, but I actually had questions about his speed and whether he was really as fast as his track exploits suggested he was. Ultimately, he was scoring touchdowns as a junior at Memorial by such wide margins that he really never had to open up his speed on the field as much as he just seemed to coast. It didn't take me long to figure out that questioning his speed was one of the dumbest things I've ever done while working in this industry, and that's probably saying something. The most dramatic part of his recruitment might have come on the day he decided to commit to the Longhorns, because when he picked up the phone to call running backs coach Mike Haywood, no one was there to take the call. Charles told Jason Suchomel of Orangebloods.com that he would call Mac Brown back the next day and make it official. And that's exactly what he did. The hit rate for the class was exceptional, as Charles was joined by the likes of Henry Melton, Roy Miller, Jermichael Finley, Roderick Muckleroy, Quan Cosby, Chris Hall, Charlie Tanner, and of course, Colt McCoy. When it's all said and done, and you look back at the last quarter century of Rivals.com ranking prospects, Jamal Charles is one of the greatest Longhorn prospects that ever lived.
Love that. Welcome back. Yes, these are the kind of breaks that you're going to have not only on my show, but throughout all the shows that you're going to have today. Again, this is the first show to get things started from 8 to 11. We've got another show that we're going to announce today that's going to be from 12 to 3. And then we've got the Mariano Rivera's of shows that's going to happen from 3 to 6. But to get things started off, it is time, guys, from this segment that I like to call the Speakeasy Lounge. And my main man, Blake, has worked up an intro that I absolutely love. Blake, go ahead and drop the intro to the Speakeasy Lounge. Let's get it started, baby. Super hot. Yes, welcome to the Speakeasy Lounge, the interviews portion of the show. You absolutely like it. In fact, you like it so much, apparently, that there's Anwar Richardson on 2 screens, apparently. It looks like Anwar Richardson is here. And now, Ketch, you look to be Anwar Richardson as well. I love the name under you.
Oh. Just ignore that. I'm not quite sure how that happened. There we go. There we go. I've always wanted to be Anwar Richardson for a day.
And then, I always wanted to be black. Here I am.
Then black, and then Blake took it away from me in like 5 seconds. It was a short-lived dream.
Welcome to being black. Joke, I don't want to get canceled on day one. So Jeff, I wanted to bring you in so we can talk about some of the things that are happening here on the channel, some of the things that are happening on OB Live, and we've kind of flipped the switch. So this is where it is. But so people know you and I, as a team, it's kind of like we've gone solo at this point, where we kind of parted ways at this moment. Go ahead and talk to them.
We're like the Eagles, right? Like Don Henley and Glenn Fry are doing different things, but the band never breaks up. Sometimes they just take like a 10-year leave of absence. I think we're both really excited about this. I think if people are worried the, oh no, I'm not going to get my Ketch and Anwar together feel. Don't worry. In this new venture, we're going to be doing 180 hours a month of live content, 9 hours a day to get started. Although I wouldn't be surprised if that expands pretty quickly, assuming we get the kickoff correct. But I think there's been an opening in the market. I think this is something that we've talked about doing for a long time, expanding our presence. You and I have talked about how would we want to start an Orangebloods radio stamp kind of an idea. We've done the podcast network, and really we feel like the future is here on our YouTube platform. And I'm incredibly excited about, first of all, watching the full 3 hours of you today. And then at 12 o'clock, we'll have a show announcement. A show will debut at noon. You guys will find out who's in that show at noon. And then same thing at 3 o'clock. We've got 2 original shows kicking off today on the channel. We feel like the names involved and the personalities involved and the voices involved are ones that you guys will recognize, ones that come with fanfare. So we thought we would definitely have some fun in terms of waiting to announce exactly what's happening until it happens later today. So yeah, man, I'm gassed up.
So, there's going to be people that kind of wonder, Ketch, what happens with some of the shows that we've had previously, right? We've had the Modcast, we've had Overreaction Monday, we've had the Modcast, we've had Recruitcast, we've had Drunk Unk, we've had K&A, we had things that are spliced in there, give the people a kind of behind the scenes on what happens with those shows, but what they can expect going forward.
Well, I think in some cases we're still trying to figure out what we want to do with a Monday Overreaction show. Is it Monday Overreactions on all of the shows? Should you and I spend some time together on Monday because that's what the people want? I think that we'll kind of work our way through some of this stuff. But more than anything, this is about more. You're going to get more live. There needs to be a place for Longhorn fans. And I think fans of sports in the city of Austin and Dallas and Houston to be able to get this type of content, this type of coverage nonstop. And you're going to have Jason on the show in an hour or maybe 2. I'm not quite sure the order of him.
2 hours. So Alex is at 9:20. Jason's at 10:20.
But just like our Recruitcast videos, like those videos will be turned around into standalone videos. We got all kinds of things planned. But the bottom line is, I don't think anybody will completely miss what we've done in the past because those things will be incorporated into the shows that we do. One of the segments, I almost let the cat out of the bag. I almost did.
I was on my Tito's last night, and I almost let all the cats out the bag. I can tell you that much.
People know that I'm awful when it comes to like spoilers on movies and things. I'll be like, hey, not a spoiler, but then I'll say a spoiler.
Yeah.
With a show. We've got elements of the things that we do daily and weekly here on the channel that will continue on. And I think people will like what we've got cooked up when it's all said and done. I think there will be some surprises. I think there will be people who think later today they know what's going to happen. But I think at some point today, there will be a moment today when I think there's a fairly big surprise, something that people wouldn't have anticipated. And I'm looking forward to that taking place as well.
Yeah. Oh, I wish I could say it, but I can't. I gotta play along. I let everyone know in the first segment that I was like, we had meetings and I was frustrated in those meetings because I wanted to spill the beans and spill the bags a lot earlier, and I've had to be patient. And I'm still gonna have to be patient. I think I've come this far. I can't turn back. So we'll go ahead and do that.
You know what? Can I give a tease?
No, because your tease is going to give it away. I know you.
I don't think this tease will give it away.
Okay. All right. We can play, but I know you well enough, Ketch, to know your tease is going to give it away. Tease, you don't know what a tease is. You're that person. wait, no, it's a morning. It's morning show. You're that person that instead of going 90% in for the kiss,
no, you're right.
For her to come 10%, you go in 100%,
tongue out. You're right.
Everything, and you're like, and we have to slap you and have to say, man, it's supposed to be 90%. I'm just saying, you're not good at this. Now, if you want to do it, go ahead.
I'm not going to do
it. See, I know you. I know you, and I know you incredibly well. Okay, listen, I do have to ask a question. Because last year, we went down, the NIL endeavor, and this year we're trying something new. The question I'm about to ask is not necessarily pat yourself on the back or pump up OB kind of thing. And Kermit knows Ketch is dying to spill it. Y'all know him. But talk about trying to make changes on the channel and trying to do things different and trying to think outside the box and not trying to always be in the norm.
Well, I think that when we started this channel, nobody was really doing YouTube stuff in the market, right? I mean, everybody's doing it now, but I think you and I challenge each other with trying to be on the front foot and aggressive in terms of the style of content that we create. When we started the post-game show back in 2015 or so.
I think it was 2015.
Nobody was really doing a post-game show amongst Texas websites and things like that. It was kind of a more conventional TV, radio, and website, and everybody kind of had their roles. In 2023, the mediums are all merged together. And I think that I've always had a dream of having an Orangebloods media broadcasting kind of channel. Something to even compete with the Longhorn network per se, right? But more analysis and not obviously games and things like that. I think this is a step in an idea that could eventually take us to a place where we're not just doing 9 hours of live content a day. But you and I both know that in putting this together and talking to people, it's been very hush-hush. But there are people that we've talked to, a small number of people, and even though there are more people that are interested, that want to be involved in what we're doing, that want to have shows on the channel, that want to, if when we go off at 6, want to come on at 7 or 8 or 9. So it's not inconceivable that in less than 12 months, we're 12 hours a day, not including weekends, which I'm really pumped up about what we've got planned on game days this year. And we've done some unique stuff on game days in the past. We've done pregame shows. Obviously, our postgame shows, usually a banger. If you missed it, what was just announced, we're doing 9 hours of live content, live shows a day, starting with the debut of the Old Fashioned Sports Show starring Anwar Richardson. I'm just a guest, like, I'm a bounce in like 5-10 minutes. And then Anwar will continue on with the show. There will be a show announced at 12. As the show begins, you guys will find out what it's about. Then there will be a show at 3 o'clock that will run from 3 to 6. Same thing. We will announce the hosts of all of the shows as the shows go live today. We thought it would be a fun way to kind of debut what our plans are for the channel. But like, this is just the beginning. Like, this is the second segment of the first show on the first day. And as far as I know, like, nobody else in Austin, in Dallas, in Houston is quite doing this. It is Longhorn-centric discussion. There are no more like all-day radio stations. This is where we want this to be the home when you're at work, when you're at home, when you're surfing Orangebloods. We want you guys to know there's always live content that you guys can watch, participate in, and enjoy. Like, our goal is to just ramp this thing up. We were Anwar doing approximately 40 hours of live content per month prior to today, the revamping of the channel today. Moving forward, that number goes from 40 hours in a month to more than 180, and that doesn't include what we will do on Saturdays in the fall. More than likely, we're really talking about 200 hours of live content. That's 5 times more live content than obviously we've done as a channel previously. And yes, our foot is the pedals all the way to the, like, we're pushing it all the way.
10 toes down. We are 10 toes down in this thing at this moment.
Yes.
There's no doubt about it. Like, Ketch, just so you know, last week I had a couple of flights that, to the road games that we're going to leave in the morning that I just rebooked for the afternoon. So I make sure I can do these shows on the Friday before I head out.
There you go.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God. Like, oh, I don't know. I can't leave at 10 o'clock to go to Birmingham. And that was crazy. My 10 o'clock flight was going to have a layover in Charlotte. And then I was going to get in at 4 o'clock. And I rebooked it. And I left at 3. And I have a direct flight that gets me in at 4 something, which was the craziest thing ever. And I thought to myself, who the hell booked this? Because why? I should have done this in the first place. But I don't remember this thing being in that's out there. By the way, Texas Boy says, what's up? Just simple. What's up, Texas Boy? We appreciate you. Appreciate you dropping that in the super chat. And by the way, super chats are always welcome. Super chats will get you to the front of the line. I will interrupt my show and anything I'm saying or doing for a super chat. Ketch and I will let you know that super chat gets our attention. And we had super chats coming in the other day on Monday when someone was just dropping 200 just to talk. And we're used to 10, 20, 50, 100. Someone just dropped 200 just to let you know that he thought your 9-3 was BS. I mean,
that is not quite what he was.
I like how I say it better.
I mean, he wanted to know it to cut through the BS. What exactly 9-3 meant from an implication standpoint, because then what he really wanted to say is if we go 9-3 or worse, we need to make changes right away. And then that led to that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah. And my man, El Presidente, by the way, Eric sells homes DFW. If you're looking for a home in the DFW area, you hit up my main man, El Presidente, Eric sells homes DFW, who says, say it now, Ketch. 12-0, 9 wins is unacceptable. Sark leads us to the promised land. Get on the train, is what he's saying. Get on the train. Say it now, Ketch.
Anwar, here's the thing. We literally just started 9 live hours a day. There is no Steve Sarkisian isn't rooting for 12-0 more than the people associated with Orangebloods' YouTube channel. We do not.
No, that is fair.
I'm trying to imagine we've started this venture, and I'm thinking, what if 2 years ago, instead of our NIL project, we went 10 toes deep in the 2021 season? People have been would be ready to just be done with us in the middle of a 6-game losing streak. So you have to know, we desperately want Texas to have success. It'd be the best thing for this new venture that we're doing. The best thing that could happen is that Texas is exciting and totally badass. I mean, seriously, Anwar, that is every year in our business model. We're like, oh my God, what if they could just win? It really is that's the case now.
So just so you know, El Presidente, at the top of the hour, the 9 o'clock hour, I'm going to start talking about the reasons for optimisms, the reasons that you should be optimistic about this season. And I'll give you some of the reasons why, El Presidente, your 12-0 may not be as crazy as other people think. So stay tuned, because I have those thoughts coming for you at the top of the hour. Ketch, give me your final thoughts before you get out of here, and I'll see you down the line. As you know, this is our last show together or last time together for a little bit, maybe for a couple.
Like we're a couple of days.
Hey, probably a couple days. I'll probably have you back on Friday.
I would just say, guys, we're doing this on the first day of Texas football practice, and on a day when Colin Simmons at some point will announce what day he's announcing his commitment. And it's like there's going to be a lot of stuff going on today. You're going to want to be on Orangebloods. Like I will always say, there's going to be an in-depthness to the coverage that we have at Orangebloods. It will always be different than what we do in the videos, but there are going to be things happening today all day long, and this will be your place to get live discussion as it happens. Constant analysis all day, every day during the week. We want this to be the home where you go to when you need that fix, and we all need it. We all look for it. I think there was an opening in the market for something like this, and hopefully you guys enjoy the product that we're getting ready to put out. I'm really excited about the 3 shows that we're kicking off with. I think, Anwar, the quality of what you provide in doing shows speaks for itself. The Drunk Unk is a bit of an institution. So now that it's on in the mornings, I think the crowd that we've got early on is indicative. Like there's a thirst at 8:42 in the morning, be live. And I think that we're going to be able to be that for everybody moving forward all day long. And it's exciting.
All right. Well, listen, I'm going to let you go. I've seen that there's super chats there. I'm going to address the super chat. So we're going to go just do a quick 2-minute break. Tom G, I see your super chat. That's going to be as soon as I get back. Triplet Joseph 44. I've got your super chat when we get back, coming back. I've got buy or sell on the next time. Give me 2 minutes, guys, and I promise you we'll be back. And by the way, this is not a commercial. This is going to be another really cool break. Don't go anywhere. This is going to be kind of badass. Blake, go ahead and get ready to drop that thing. You're going to absolutely love it. Go ahead, Blake. Show them what they've got coming.
This Orangebloods recruiting flashback focuses on the player generally considered to be the greatest Longhorn football player of all time. Vince Young was a 5-star prospect by rivals when he signed with the Longhorns in 2002, finishing as the #1 overall player in the nation. 20 plus years later, the 2 things that stand out the most about Young's recruitment was how much ground the Longhorns made up in a blink of an eye. Weeks before his senior season began in 2001, his mother reported that Texas was out. Quote, "We ruled out Texas as Vincent has decided that he probably won't stay in the state of Texas to play in college," Miss Young said. In just a matter of months following that statement by his mom, Vince Young was pretty much wrapped up to go to Texas. The other thing that stands out about Young's recruitment was just how big he was in the city of Houston. I went to a playoff game with Madison against Hightower in the Astrodome, and opposing fans were jumping up in the stands over the excitement that Young was creating. I wrote for Orangebloods.com at the time, quote, "At that point, the Astrodome crowd started to go crazy. People in the Hightower section were high-fiving each other, laughing, and screaming in amazement," end quote. It was unlike anything I've ever seen before or since. On the day he committed to the Longhorns in January, Vince said, quote, "There's a lot of love down there at Texas, and that's what I was looking for before I visited. They made my mom smile, and that's all I needed to see. I committed to them this afternoon." Young was the bell cow of a 2002 recruiting class that was ranked first in the nation and is regarded as one of the best in the history of the school. That class signed 6 5-star prospects, which also included Justin Blaylock and Roderick Wright. Ultimately, Young's class was the foundation of the 2005 national championship team.
Welcome back. That was really awesome. Loved seeing that. That was a really cool segment by Jeff Ketchum over there. And now it's time for our buy or sell section. It's time for our buy or sell, which basically is going to be all the questions that you might have, all the questions that you may have for me for the next 15 minutes or so. And of course, Blake's going to put things on the phone, but we also have these super chats that are kind of rolled in. So I also want to address the super chats that are there. I know there was 2 that came in right before Ketch went off. And so, yes, Ketch is off right now. Again, there will be more show announcements, more things that are coming, but we'll get into the buy or sell segment of the show right about now. And let's go with Tom G, who just drops 100 in the super chat. Appreciate that, Tom G. It just says simply, let's kick this off with a bang. Congrats, Ketch and the OB family on a great new journey. Yes, man, I'm super excited about it. Super excited about their journey. For those who missed it at the top of the hour, Drunk Unk, I guess Drunk Unk sober because I got to do morning shows now. So I won't be doing the evening shows on Wednesday nights, but doesn't mean I'm going to have a pop-up show here and there. I will have pop-up shows here and there. Like, it will happen. Drunk Unk won't be gone. In fact, I've been contemplating maybe doing a Drunk Unk segment in my show, maybe once a week or something like that. I'm not quite sure. I've got to figure this thing out. I will figure it out, but it will still be there. Like I said, from 8 to 11, you will find me here just about every single day. So let's go ahead and do that. We also had, thank you, Tom G. Appreciate you. Love you. One day I got to tell you how Tom G and I almost got into a bar fight in San Antonio at the Alamo Bowl last year. There was a dude who just was in our space and just was talking a little crap. And he was a Washington fan and he wanted to talk a little crap. And I was like, hey, we were at a point. I told Tom G, I was like, hey, man, take your glasses off. Because I just thought it's about to go down. It's about to go down. And we're at the bar. I was like, man, take your glasses off. Because I don't want Tom G to get swung on and then, glasses come flying off. I had my contact lenses on that day. So, I was good. I was ready to stick and move. But Tom G, to Tom G's credit, when I said, Tom G, take your glasses off, my man did. He was about that action. I was like, oh, snap. We are going to go to jail together today. Thank God we didn't, though. So I appreciate Tom G. Tom G, that's my dude. Love him for life. A super chat. And this is by a triplet Joseph 44. Would love to know the genesis of that name, by the way. I'm always curious about people's handles. He said, just joined, so probably off topic. No, super chat brings you on topic, baby. Are y'all tired of everyone saying 2018 was such a season? Okay. And any thoughts on Colin? Okay. Well, first of all, I'm not tired of it. And I'll never get tired of 2018. Got a chance to go to New Orleans, got a chance to be in the Sugar Bowl, got a chance to experience all that. And listen, at the end of the day, that was a 10-win season. So because it was a 10-win season, because Texas did so well, I won't begrudge it. It's just because the 2018 leaves a bitter taste for a lot of people, mainly because of what happened in 2019. Because if 2018 was a standalone season and standalone that itself, no one would be, you can't begrudge getting 9 wins and then beating Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, even though I guess Georgia didn't want to be there because they didn't get to the national championship game, right? That by the way, I've learned that's the SEC excuse that we all have to get used to, is that if you lose a bowl game in the SEC, because you didn't want to be there. Just know, we got to memorize that, guys. Going forward, I have learned this. I've been in all these SEC events in the offseason. I have learned that it's important for you to say, if we lose a bowl game, we didn't want to be there, man. We're just so disappointed that we weren't at the Alamo. We weren't at the CFP, and it's because of that we just didn't want to be there. Get that memorized. 2018 happened. 2018 was great. What the hell is that on the screen? What the hell bot is this thing? Like, Blake, what is that? What is in the chats? What just happened right now? Like, what? There's usually like sex things that are there. Yes, we're getting taken over right now. My whole thing has been infiltrated. I don't know what the hell that was. I don't know what that is. Get it off. Usually we have like the sex bots that come around the hour mark. It's like there's some program. They know if it shows me going for an hour, they just infiltrate it. That thing was weird. That was some like hieroglyphics, speaking in tongues kind of stuff. I don't want that part, that kind of thing. And so that happened. Blake, by the way, do we have any buy or sell questions, Blake? Do we have anything? Oh, and let me ask you this. And you also want to know the thoughts on Colin Simmons. Like, my thoughts on Colin Simmons are this. First of all, I'll say this. And I'm going to say this as a person who's not a recruiting expert. So Jason Suchomel will be on my show today at 10:20 a.m. Central Time. And I will make sure you triple Joseph. Just know I will make sure that question gets asked to Jason, and I give you a full update. I can tell you what I've gathered, what I've been hearing. Seems like Texas is in a good situation. Seems like Texas is a good place for Colin Simmons. Seems like Texas, if you're handicapping it, they're probably on the in as far as Colin Simmons is concerned. I don't feel like NIL is going to be a concern as relates to Colin Simmons. It's going to come down to personal choice, but I feel pretty good about where they stand. Now, that being said, if it doesn't happen, blame Ketch and Jason. I'm just a football guy. I don't have to do recruiting per se, but I feel like they're doing really good. And because I feel like they're doing good and they're really in, I say to myself, you know what? Anything can happen. And the thing I just feel like I want to say this. And this is the great part about what I get to do and get to do my show. I just feel like when it comes to Steve Sarkisian and the staff as relates to recruiting, I feel like we're in Gladiator when Maximus is saying, "Are you not entertained?" Like, they've done this thing year after year. We've seen it. We've seen the results. We've seen them get the guys early. We've seen them get those guys late. And all of a sudden, we've been able to. My videos drop substantially. What the hell's going on, Blake? Let me know my videos drop, because I don't want this. I'll exit this thing real quick. But we've seen Texas be able to do what they need to do from a recruiting standpoint, right? And so because of that, I feel like we've got to give them the benefit of the doubt. And I feel like the reason why the videos kind of dropped just a little bit, guys, is probably because of the chats that are on the side. And I feel like that's kind of making the whole thing lag just a little bit. And so just be patient, And by the way, I have Spectrum. And if you guys have Spectrum, y'all know that's trash. And if you work for Spectrum and you work for Spectrum Internet, I'm just letting you know your internet's trash. So there is that, right? So, but we feel like I feel like at the end of the day, Texas has done well. I feel like at the end of the day, Texas is doing the damn thing. And so at the end of the day, you got to give them a little bit of grace. You got to give them a little bit of leeway here. And then you got to be able to let them know that, hey, at the end of the day, we'll go ahead. And yeah, we're going to fix it. Blake, do you want to just go fix this thing now? Forget the break. I don't want to do a show if this thing is bad. So why don't we do this? Blake, do me a favor. Let's go to another thing. Let's go ahead and go to another one. And then we'll get this thing fired right back up within the next two minutes or so. All right? So let's just go ahead and do it. All right? Go ahead and drop another.
This Orangebloods recruiting flashback focuses on one of the best recruiting success stories in the history of the Texas program. Ultimately, a prospect that turned into an All-American and a 5-time NFL All-Pro. Earl Thomas was a mid-4-star prospect by rivals when he signed with the Longhorns in 2007, finishing as the nation's number 106th overall prospect, the 19th best prospect in Texas, and the number 12 athlete in the country, according to Rivals.com. While Thomas was obviously very well thought of, he actually ranked behind 3 other defensive backs in his own recruiting class with the Longhorns: Curtis Brown, Ben Wells, and Christian Scott, all ranked ahead of Thomas in the Rivals rankings. On the day that Thomas committed to the Longhorns, he was joined by 5 others: Keenan Robinson, Kyle Hicks, Michael Huey, Ben Wells, and Andre McGaskey. Of that group, Robinson played in the NFL, while he, Hicks, and Huey were all multi-year starters on teams that challenged for national championships. Meanwhile, Thomas was Thomas. That was some kind of weekend for Mack Brown in recruiting. When Thomas committed, he told Jason Suchomel of Orangebloods, quote, "I called Mack Brown today. I let them talk to my dad for a while. My dad wanted to talk to them before I committed. Then I went ahead and made my commitment." My favorite memory of Thomas's recruitment occurred in College Station for the 2006 state 7-on-7 tournament before Thomas's senior season. After watching him play in a group game on the first day of the event, an NFL coach that I knew walked up to me and told me that Thomas was the best player in the entire class. We didn't listen to him when we did the rankings, but we should have. Thomas was a member of the 2007 recruiting class that finished 5th in the nation in the Rivals.com rankings.
All right, we are back. The glitches should be gone. I feel like we are back in the house, and we are good to go. Yes, to hell with Spectrum. To hell with your damn internet, Spectrum. Yeah. If you want to be a sponsor of the show, Spectrum, you know what you can do? We can barter. Get me good internet, and then you could be a sponsor on my show. How about that? How about that, Spectrum? That's all I'm asking for. That's all we need. You know what I'm saying, Spectrum? I'm talking to you. Spectrum, y'all are like the Metro PCS of internet right now. Like, I'm just going to tell you right now, you guys are like the Metro PCS of internets right now. We can barely get reception anywhere. Don't make me, I'll do a 5-minute just going off on you, Spectrum, for what you've done to me or tried to do to me today. You tried to bring me down, Spectrum, try to kill my vibe. I was listening to Kurt Franklin this morning and everything. I was trying to get my praise on. You know, I was trying to get in the mood, you know. I was listening to my stuff, and now Spectrum just took me all out of it, man. That's what Spectrum does to you. Spectrum makes you lose your religion. Spectrum makes you, if you're a Christian, Spectrum will make you into an atheist. Easily Spectrum will make you into an atheist. You'll just be like, I don't believe. Because when it comes to Spectrum, I don't believe in anything you guys do. I don't believe in your products. I don't believe in anything with you. All right, let me stop. By the way, from a background perspective, just so you guys know, it's just to make you happy. Right over here, for those who didn't see it in the first hour, this is the Texas OU credential from the last year's game, the 49-0 game. I put this up on purpose so every single time that you guys see me on the show, you can just smile. You're smiling now. You're smiling now thinking about it. I know you are. I know you're smiling now thinking about 49-0. I know you've got to be happy. It makes me smile. It makes me smile. Probably doesn't make Brett Venable smile though. I bet you he's not as enthusiastic or doesn't love the show the way that is. All right, let's go back in. We're going to do some back into some buy or sell. I will adjust. Don't worry about it. I still do. If you got buy or sell questions, go ahead and put that in the chat. I'll work it in to this segment as well. This new segment as well that we're getting ready to do. But buy or sell from my person, Lane A. I was going to say my man, but I don't know if Lane is, male or female, and I don't want to be. And if it's a woman, I don't want to be like, it's offensive. Like, that's my man. She's like, my name is Laney. So then don't do that because it's my oldest son's mama's name. O-line recruiting needs to go after centers, specifically in the future. Buy or sell? Sell. And here's why I'm going to sell on that, Lane. I'm going to sell on that concept of what you're talking about. Because I don't necessarily think you have to go for centers. You just have to go for the best offensive lineman. I know that sounds like a cliche, but hear me out and let this thing play out for a second. The thing that Texas is looking for from an offensive line recruiting standpoint is, Lane says, 70-year-old retired infantry officer. Thanks, Lane. Thanks to you, by the way, for your service. Thank you for everything that you've done. We appreciate you. Appreciate what you've done for this country and done for itself. And salute to you for living 70 years and being 70 years young. Go ahead and make it to 100. Get onto the Today Show. I want you to be there, 100 years old, blowing out a candle. That'd be awesome. That's my goal. That's literally my goal. You talk about bucket list. I want to be 100 and be able to blow out a candle on the Today Show. I don't give a damn. You're like, and give me a drink, by the way, because I definitely will want one in the morning. If I live to 100, you guys give me whatever the hell I want at that point. But getting back to your question, what you got to understand, and from a recruiting philosophy, recruiting standpoint, what Texas is trying to do, what they're trying to do is recruit big human beings. That's the main goal for them. They want Kyle Flood, Steve Sarkisian. They want big humans. They want earth movers. Okay, like that is exactly their goal, to find the biggest folks that are out there. And because of that, what you're seeing, and you saw it this spring, is that a lot of guys outside of Jake Majors has the opportunity to play center. Like Kyle Flood talked about it. Kyle Flood named off like 5-6 guys yesterday who had the opportunity to play center in the spring. And so essentially what they need is massive guys. Like, you're not going to find every guy's going to be a Cam Williams, right? But you want the Hayden Connors of the world. Like, you want the 330s and 340s, these people movers that are out there. When I covered the NFL, and I covered the NFL for years. For those who aren't familiar and maybe only know me from the Orangebloods thing, but I did cover the NFL for years. At this point, if you could look over this shoulder here, this is when I was actually a Pro Football Hall of Fame voter. This is my letter letting me know that I would have the honor of being a Pro Football Hall of Fame voter. And so I covered Detroit. I covered Detroit Lions. I covered the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So when I covered the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, just for background, covered Tony Dungy when he was there, covered John Gruden when he was there, covered Raheem Morris when he was there, just kind of give you the time frames. Detroit, I was there. I covered Jim Schwartz, and then eventually went to Yahoo when I had an opportunity to cover the entire NFL before coming here and taking advantage of this opportunity at Orangebloods, which, as you can see, ends up being the smart move when it was all said and done. But the thing that I remember, and there's a lot of things that stuck out to me throughout my years of covering the NFL, but the thing that I remember was talking to John Gruden many years ago, many moons ago. And again, at this point, it has to be over 10 years ago. I mean, it's been a while, right? And John Gruden said something that has always stuck with me. And you'll hear me say this analogy and use what he said on this show a lot, okay? And what he said was, there are not a lot of athletic 300-pound men walking the face of the earth. And when you find those people, you have to draft them. You have to take them. And you think about that. Just think about that for a second. And this is not to be disparaging to anyone who's overweight or anything like that. We're just talking about from an athletic standpoint, okay? From an athletic standpoint, when you look at most 300-pound men, it's like Rick Ross, right? I mean, it's the biggest boss, rough. I mean, it's like DJ Khaled, right? These guys who have like a dad bod times 3 with no kids, right? It's usually pretty sloppy, right? That's just how you are if you aren't athletic. Like, that's just what it is. That's just what it looks like. If you are 300 plus, you look like, well, not today's Rick Ross. Because today's Rick Ross actually is pretty slant. He's lost some weight to where he used to be. So more like DJ Khaled, right? Just big. Just big. And of course, he's rich, so no one cares at that point. You can be the key to life. If you're going to be big, be rich. Because you can get away with a whole lot of things if you got money. Like, people won't care. Like, there's a whole lot of people who are going to be on a yacht this weekend who are out of shape, but they got money, and they're going to have nothing but dimes around them. But the point is, you've got to be able to find those athletic guys. And so when you find 300-pound plus people who are athletic, you just take them and then you just fit them in. So you can't necessarily just say we're recruiting centers. You have to recruit people who are big, who are athletic, and that you can transition them into playing center. But you just can't necessarily say we're going for centers, because if you do that, then you kind of limit yourself. That's what Texas is doing. That's what the Longhorns are doing. They're looking for big human beings, and that's what they need to go. Again, thank you guys. Welcome to the show. If you're just now tuning in, this is kind of a carryover from the last segment. And again, we're just ad-libbing. We're just kind of going with it. The one thing about this show that I want you guys to know is that I'm just not going to limit myself at any moment. We're really in the second segment of this next hour. It's really called the second quarter huddle. But that being said, this is a carryover from buy or sell, because I want to make sure that I get into some of the things that we weren't able to get into. So buy or sells usually was in the first hour. I'm just carrying it over to the second hour, and it just kind of is what it is. We're just going to flow with it. Matt from the SEC. I was in, by the way, Matt, I was at SEC Media Days in Nashville, had a great time. I was at SEC spring meetings in Destin, Florida, had an amazing time. Can't believe I was sleeping on how beautiful Destin, Florida is. I went there one time a few years ago, and I was like, man, this place is nice. And then I went again, and I got a chance to hit the beach. And I'm like, it's white sands, blue water. And you just say to yourself, why are we not doing this more often? Like, why are we going to something that Destin's beautiful. I'm not gonna lie. I'm absolutely, you got me sidetracked, but I'm absolutely going to love going to Destin, Florida every single year because that place is amazing. Anyway, Matt goes, if we beat Bama, do you think that confidence helps turns Texas into the team we're expecting them to be and run through the Big 12? Buy. And we'll absolutely buy that. Here's why I'm going to buy that, what you're saying, Matt. Because Texas hasn't really had that signature win to really kind of build off of. Like last year, you had Oklahoma, right? And I think that was a good win. But you kind of want to beat Oklahoma every year. So it was just fun to just pounce them and say 49-0, right? That was fun. But you wonder and you think back, like if Texas beats Bama last year, what that could have meant for the program, right? Think about a couple of years ago, if Texas, where they're standing toe-to-toe versus LSU. We're at the end of the day, we realize that LSU ends up being one of the greatest teams in the history of college football. LSU ends up being one of the greatest teams in the history of college football. But we didn't know it at the time. We just didn't know. We didn't know Joe Burrow was going to be Joe Burrow. We didn't know Jamar Chase was going to be Jamar. We didn't know that this team was going to be as great. We didn't know that every player off that team was going to get drafted at some point. Like, who knew? And they were just kind of like an okay team going into that. What that could have been. I think if Texas goes into Tuscaloosa under the lights and they beat Bama, yes, I think the trajectory of this team absolutely takes off. And I know what's going to happen. And I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you what the people are going to say. I'm going to tell you what the doubters are going to say. I'm going to tell you what the haters are going to say. I know what everyone's going to say that always likes to crap on your Texas Longhorns. The people who like to tell you that your team can't do this, who's going to remind you that you haven't won a Big 12 title since 2009. It's going to remind you that this team's going to be in one Big 12 championship since that time. It's going to tell you that your team is not it. All the haters out there, I know they're going to tell you. They're going to tell you, get ready, because Texas is they're going to hit their toe in the Big 12. That's what they're actually going to tell you, right? Beware of the Baylor, beware of Iowa State, beware of all these road games, beware of this, because history will tell you that that's going to happen. But here's what I got to tell you about history. And here's what you have to know. And here's what's really important as we start getting to the historical context of things. At some point, some way, somehow, teams have a breakthrough and things just happen. TCU just happened last year. What in their history would have told you that TCU would be playing for a national championship? Nothing. Nothing in TCU's history would have told you that was about to happen. But if you would have listened, and if TCU would have listened and said to themselves, oh man, history tells us that that's not going to happen, it would have never happened, right? And so people are going to tell you what's going to happen. And I look at this time, guys, and this is where I think you'll like my show. And this is where I think you'll enjoy what I do. Because I'm not going to be that person that tells you to pump the brakes. I'm not going to be that person that tells you not to dream big. I'm not going to be that person that is trying to piss in your cornflakes. I'm not that person who's going to sit here on August 2nd and just pour out your burnt orange Kool-Aid. You should have hope. You should have belief. You should have optimism. This team is loaded. And I'm going to get into that. I keep feeling like I'm saying I'm going to get into that. No, I feel like I haven't gotten into it yet. But yes, I think they're going to, if they beat Bama, they'll be that team that does run through the Big 12. I think you'll be really excited about that. And when, because I'm telling you, I have been predicting the fall off the mountain from Bama for the last couple of years. I've been predicting it since NIL. And I'm going to sidebar for a second. I'm telling you guys that Bama, and I'm just going to say this, and if I have to eat my words, so be it. If I end up being wrong, so be it. I'll fall on it, so be it. I'll take it. I'll take a loss. I've been married multiple times. I know what L's look like. Shout out to my divorce attorney, Sam Solidar. I see him like every couple of years. I love you, Sam. I promise. Hopefully we just hang out at games. I could just stop paying you. But I'm telling you that Bama is going to have a fall off the mountain. They won't be able to keep up in this era of NIL. They just won't. It's the reason why Nick Saban complains about it all the damn time. Because at the end of the day, he knows they can't keep up. The state of Alabama is not going to produce more millionaires per year than the state of Texas. It just is what it is. Sorry. It just is what it is. And so, yes, they want legislation. They want legislation at this point. Please rein in NIL. Please bring in a salary cap. Please make it even, right? Please make the NIL and college football into this communist system where everybody's at the same level, right? You want that. They want that because they're scared of what can happen if Texas, with that NIL money, all of a sudden takes off. They're scared of it. They don't like it. And you know why they don't like it? And I'm not going to speak on Alabama per se. I'm just going to talk about in general. You know why people don't like NIL? And you know why coaches complain about NIL? You know why they bitch about NIL? You know why they have a real problem with NIL? Because they have been paying kids under the table for years. Under the table, underhanded recruiting tactics. And now all of a sudden, because players are getting paid above board, they don't like it. They don't like all of a sudden that now players are getting paid above the table. They liked it when they could play players below the table, where no one knew about it, where they were able back in the day, mama would go ahead and put the refrigerator on Craigslist for $100 and someone would show up with a brown paper bag with 50 stacks. That's what they used to be able to do. That happened. And now all of a sudden, NIL is kicked in, and now they're saying, we don't want that. We don't like that. You know why they don't like it? Because they want to be able to pay kids under the table, and they don't want to get outbid in a free market system. And because they get outbid in a free market system, they're complaining about it. So every coach that's complaining about it, that's bitching about it, trust me, no is telling you the truth. They are pissed off because they can't play you out above the table. And now in the free market system, they're getting outbid and they don't like it. They absolutely don't like it. Sorry, I got worked up. It gets me irritated. And by the way, last thing I'm going to say on this, and Triple Joseph, we're going to go back into your thing. It's getting me irritated. And Blake, can you make sure you message Jason Suchomel for me? So Alex, make sure you message Alex. Make sure he's because Planet Alex Dunlap could be anywhere. Make sure Alex gets ready to come in soon, please. Because God, I love Alex, but God, I never know where Alex is. Alex, who knows? But nonetheless, I'm just letting you guys know. That's what this thing is all about. I'm just letting you guys know. And at the end of the day, Alabama is going to go down a couple of notches. It just kind of is what it is. And get ready for that. And that's why I give Texas a good chance this year. Just going to tell you that. That's why I give them a good chance. I think they're going to be able to match Bama talent for talent. And I think they'll be able to match them mano a mano. And at the end of the day, we'll see if Sark can match him coaching for coaching. But I'm not going to predict the win, but I'm not going to be surprised. Okay, Triple J. Buy or sell. This is the best damn show on YouTube. It's time for football, baby. And Triplet is my last name. Man, I thought you just had like super seed Triplet. I was like, dang, this dude put out 3. he fired and don't miss. Golly, Triplet. No. Listen, I hope it's the best damn show on YouTube. I hope we continue to grow. I hope I guess I should have told you guys to hit the like button, subscribe, and all that kind of stuff. But hopefully that's kind of redundant and somewhat obvious there. But I hope it's the best damn show on YouTube. I hope you guys love it. I hope you guys love waking up to me. I know you guys are used to seeing me on Wednesday nights, and that's kind of what we've been doing for a long period of time. But yeah, I'm hoping that going forward that you guys enjoy this. Like I said, I'm keeping it in-house as far as guests is concerned today, but I've talked to a lot of people who are friends of mine in the sports industry, not only reporters, former athletes, Hall of Famers, all kinds of stuff. I'm going to lean on all of them to be on this show at some point in the future. To talk Texas, I'm going to talk Texas. I'm going to, a lot, but I'm going to talk NFL, fantasy football. We're going to talk all sports. Everybody who works at the UT SID office, no matter what the sport is, it's time for you guys to reach out. You want your athletes promoted. You want your coaches promoted. It's all sports. Reach out to me. We have the platform. We'll be here. I've got you covered. It just is what it is. Hopefully it'll be the best damn sports show that you guys ever see and ever enjoy. Kyle Xander, obligatory Paris trip super chat. Congrats on the new show. Paris trip. I appreciate that, Kyle. And thank you. I appreciate that. I have to tell you that my son is going to be going to Paris in November. Did I tell you? You guys may not know this. As I wait for Alex Dunlap to come on at some point because Alex is on Planet Alex. I'm going to call him, be like, Alex, where the hell are you? You're supposed to be on at 9:18. And Jeff Ketchum, if you are watching, can you please contact Alex and make sure he gets on this damn show at some point? But listen, guys, I want to tell you guys real quick. So my son, I got 2 boys. My old ass has 2 young boys. I mean, I'm 49 with a 10-year-old and a 5-year-old. Like, talk about life decisions. But my oldest son, who just started playing soccer this year, playing basketball for years, coached him, all that stuff, played AAU basketball and stuff like that. we want to be a keeper, so he wants to go ahead and start to get into that thing. And he went to a PSG camp in San Antonio just a couple of weeks ago, week-long camp, and got the news that he got invited to go train and go do a training in Paris. So he will be going in November. 10-year-old going to Paris. I won't be. I'll be doing the show. But he'll be Maximus, my oldest son. Shout out to him. He will be training in Paris with PSG for at least 2 weeks. Now, hopefully it's not a money grab, because a money grab, I'm going to be pissed off. But it should be fun. So I wanted to kind of get into that. Alex is kind of in the studio. He's the background. It is time for us to go back to the Speak Easy Lounge to get my guest in. My main man, Alex Dunlap, is here. Blake, go ahead and drop it. Let everybody know it's time for a guest. Let's get it started, baby. Alex, did you love that? Tell me you love that, Alex.
It's all still very new to me, Anwar. I don't know what the hell I'm in for here, brother.
Good morning to you, Alex.
Good morning, man.
Alex, I love you so much because you're just so unique and you're your own person, and everything about you is pretty awesome. So, Alex, I wanted to get you kind of on right now because we got the first day of camp today, and the first day of practice is getting started, and there's a lot to think about, a lot to digest, and I'll start with kind of like the easy portion of it. Maybe it's not the easy portion, but when camp gets started, what groups will you be focusing on, Alex? What groups will you be looking at when we get out there this afternoon? And if there's a group that you're like, I gotta lay eyes on this group, where are you at?
Yeah, well, the first thing is going to be the weather these next couple of days, dude. It's gonna be the hottest. Are these gonna be the hottest practices that we've ever attended?
Yeah. Well, we're usually morning practice.
I feel like, dude, they're gonna have to move these to the mornings, aren't they? They're not gonna keep putting these guys out here at 3 p.m. Yeah, do you think that can possibly continue? It's like
Alex, I'm with you. I wouldn't try to burn my guys out and cramp them out in August. Yeah. It seems like it's a little too early. And I get if you're trying to make them tougher and get them ready for DKR and this and that, but there's something to be said for that dome at this point.
There's finally something to be said for that for that thing.
Piece of crap.
Yeah, the bubble, man. Okay, so for me, we talked about it yesterday a little bit on the modcast, but there are a couple situations I'll be interested in seeing. One, just with the return of Jalen Catalon, is he going to be? If he's fully ready to go there at safety, will he be lining up with the ones? I tend to think not, just because what we've seen out of Steve Sarkisian is if there are changes that are to be made from, say, one portion to another, I think really from spring to fall, if those changes do get made, he generally makes them after the practices kind of get more closed to the media, right? He kind of gives you what you're expecting to see, the knowledge that's sort of already out there, right? Keep it status quo and without any big changes. Whenever there is a big change, like with, say, last year with Kelvin Banks at left tackle, right? Mm-hmm. It's like they'll let you know right off the bat if there's something like that that's that big a deal. And so I would think that Jalen Catalon, if he's starting, that'll represent sort of a big deal to me. It'll let me know that they think that he could possibly be at least some version of that player that we saw at Arkansas his sophomore year. And clearly, if he's 75 to 80% of that player, he's going to be by far the best option for Texas to have back there. The running backs, I know you've already kind of gotten to the bottom of this, Anwar, with you asking Coach Flood about this. He said that Jonathan Brooks will be the first one up. I just want to see how a healthy Jonathan Brooks, if he's at the height of his powers and he's Jay Brooks, how does he look compared to CJ Baxter? I feel like I'm kind of repeating what I said yesterday on the modcast, but if you just look at the history of these running backs, these elite sort of top 50 national running backs, when these guys come in and there's not an truly established starter ahead of them. And look, this isn't me saying that I don't like Jay Brooks. This isn't me saying that he can't be any good. Like, I think he's good, right? But we also live in a super, super bubble. We live in a super bubble, and we live in an echo chamber of Texas football, and we think all these guys are good. We think all of them have hidden upside. We're like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just the way it goes. Like, we are hyper focused on them, and we know all the, everything that they could be. But the country doesn't know Jonathan Brooks. The Big 12 at large doesn't know Jonathan Brooks. They certainly don't know Jaden Blue. So anytime, these elite, 5-star-ish, top 50, top 50 guys in the whole nation come into a situation like that, they always take over the alpha role. So is that going to happen with Jay Brooks? Is that going to happen with CJ Baxter? I want to see how both of them look when they're running together, when both are at the height of their powers. I haven't seen that yet. I haven't seen that. So I want to look at that and see how that goes. Clearly, with the offensive line, I think we're just going to get chalk with this. I don't think they're going to throw any major changes at us. But, how does Cole Hudson look when he hasn't gotten to work out, this whole spring, and for a big portion of that winter conditioning with the injury that he was handling? How long can they keep him in with guys like DJ Campbell and Neto and Cam Williams, who Coach mentioned yesterday, sort of waiting in the wings there? And then just with the wide receiver stuff, like Isaiah Nayer, how does he look vis-a-vis A.D. Mitchell? I think that'll be interesting to see. And, just a million other things. That'll be the thing about practice. I always go there saying, like, Jesus Christ, man, what am I going to write about, a 20-minute practice window? And then by the time I get home, I'm on my, I've written 5 pages, and I'm like, I just need to cut this off. People are going to quit caring. So yeah, but those are just some of the things just off the top of my head.
What are your thoughts, on the linebacker position? Because I mean, Sark kind of talked about that thing, a little bit yesterday, and it's kind of trying to think about, okay, we know Jalen Ford kind of established himself last year as kind of the guy, and then we got a lot of names, Alex, that we're throwing in there. We got the Anthony Hills that we're waiting on, but one of the things that Pete K talked about yesterday, he said, like, hey, he's really good, he's really talented, but he doesn't know everything at this moment. It is that kid that he makes mistakes, he makes them at full speed. But as you and I know, that making mistakes at full speed, while that's great, that effort is also good. It also means you can give up a touchdown as well because you're way out of position. So give us a thought on that, the linebacker, battles that, we might see.
Well, what if I told you last year that Jalen Ford was going to lead the goddamn world in tackles and one of PFF's number 1 linebackers? What if I told you that?
Jalen Ford was my breakout guy last year. So you would not have. I don't know if I would have expected him to be as great statistically. So I'm not going to like be disingenuous. But
no, Anwar, no, that would be to say you saw that coming. I mean,
okay, I
call him breakout, but I mean, come on.
I said I don't want to be totally disingenuous. I'm going to be a little disingenuous. Okay, I probably would have I would have been like you. I would have been like you smoking that good, Alex, and that's probably what I would have said.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just look. I think that it's real easy to say you're worried about David Benda. I mean, I think it's easy to say that. For some reason, I didn't come out of spring ball just being like, man, like that's a big liability. I think that the depth is a liability, right? I mean, you're one twisted ankle away from them saying like, Jesus Christ. I mean, is it going to be Jett? But they're not going to throw Jett Bush out there. Maybe they will. They've done stuff like that, I think that the depth is a little bit worrisome when you just look at. I mean, it's basically Maurice Blackwell if you don't consider Jett Bush and Anthony Hill. Who is there? Is it just freshmen other than that? It's Samaje Burrell, and that's another thing. You're seeing how all the new guys we haven't seen yet. Like, how does Samaje Burrell look? Right, Darian Gillette. We talked about it yesterday. A guy that was hurt all during camp. But who else is it? And I think Gillette's more of an edge guy than a linebacker anyway. But there's who is it? They got Leonga Lafau. They have Burrell. They have Hill, and they have Akana. Was
it 4 guys that they signed though?
So I think that the depth I just think that we might be conflating two different issues here. Being worried about linebacker, right, and being significantly worried about linebacker, I think is okay if you're the type of person prone to worry about these things. But I'm not sure the worry should be directed so much at David Benda himself as it is as just the depth, And if because here's the thing, there's a chance he's not going to be good, and if he's not good and he's not good enough, it's like, well, Jesus, I mean, who are the what's the fallback plan? It's like to me that's what's concerning, because I do see Anthony Hill starting this season in more of a role where he can be used in those sub packages, more like they were using him towards the end of spring ball as sort of a third linebacker, Sam overhang linebacker, and some of those different packages. And I think it presents a golden opportunity for a guy like him that comes in with such a recruiting pedigree and such a dynamic skill set and so big and just a really good player. Certainly presents an opportunity for him to stay engaged and be part of the game plan and maybe develop some parts of his skill set that lining up at a traditional inside linebacker wouldn't have afforded him to really begin developing this early in his career. So if you get sort of like the 1-2 punch, or the kind of killing two birds with one stone of, for one, keeping a really highly touted recruit happy, keeping him involved, and also allowing him to maybe ascend into that starting inside linebacker spot while developing a set of skills, maybe off the edge, maybe dropping off into different types of coverage, curl routes, flat routes, those kinds of things. He can move like that. You allow him to develop those more specialized little skill sets. Man, by the time he does step up into that starting role, it's going to be with a more well-rounded skill set.
Alex, if I had to say, or ask you what you think the strongest position is on this team, would you go wide receiver? Would you go cornerbacks? Like, if I was like, Alex, you can coach this and you just know it's just going to be the easiest job that you'll ever have, obviously not negating that his coaching is a hard job, what's the strongest position for you?
I think you hit it with wide receiver. It's just, I mean, Sark said yesterday that, they're going to try and get this thing down to an NFL rotation with 4 or 5 of these guys. And I just look at it, I'm just like, well, okay, what are we going to do here? So we know that AD Mitchell looks like maybe they haven't seen it yet. People are going to find out about AD Mitchell real soon. George Pickens, who made probably the sickest catch I've seen in all of training camp, yesterday for the Pittsburgh Steelers, going up against the rookie Joey Porter Jr. in one-on-ones. He's an absolute freak, right? He's a dog. He's an alpha. He's a maniac. And he even says, whenever he leaves, that AD Mitchell is like that dude, man. Like, he's totally him. And the fact that Texas has this guy on board, and it feels, was he a junior? He's classified as a junior now. It just feels wild to me that, Texas fans have certainly heard about AD Mitchell. They're excited about him. They've seen him in, highlight clips and a little bit in spring game, but they don't realize that they have an alpha dog like on their roster. They're going to be seeing here really soon as a major part of this passing attack. How does he look versus Isaiah Nair, who also, it's like Texas fans know about him. They've been excited about him. They're like, we got Nair, but it's, I mean, what does he look like? What does he look like when he's at the height of his powers too? So we're getting to see these guys supposedly at the height of their powers. The Jay Brookses, the Isaiah Nairs. It's almost like kind of getting to see a whole new piece. But specifically with Nair, I want to see how he looks. Vis-a-vis, like, I want to see a rep from, because he's gonna be lining up, I presume, behind Mitchell. I mean, they line up at the X. You've seen them when they got those two quarterbacks back there. They got the X, they got the tight end, they got the slot, they got the Z, and so he'll be lining up right over here, right behind AD Mitchell. I want to see AD run a route. I want to see Nair run a route. Like, I want to see how they look. You got those two guys. You got Whittington, who's, you say what you will about him. I've talked to NFL scouts who love Whittington. I mean, they just physically, from a physical standpoint, they're like, they think he's going to test through the roof. He's a really good athlete. He's been dependable when he's healthy. And then Xavier Worthy, of course. I mean, I don't even need to talk about him. He's put on 10 pounds of weight. He played with a broken hand last year. I think this is going to be a good comeback year for him. And then you just have the two freshmen three, really. I mean, because now we have Ryan Niblett in the fold, who's getting all the buzz from, but dude, DeAndre Moore and Jonte Cook were good in the in the spring. So, there's some things that both those dudes need to work on for sure. But DeAndre Moore to me looks like much more. He's kind of like Jordan Whittington in the fact that he looks like a slot wide receiver plus. Do you know what I mean, Anwar? Like it doesn't look like one of the, I'm just saying he's not some Cole Beasley out there. And I mean Cole Beasley's a sick athlete, so that's probably not a good comparison.
But like I get what you're saying though.
Yeah. He kind of looks like a slot plus. So you got Niblett, you got Jonte Cook, you got DeAndre Moore. I think that would be a group that probably, I mean, they would come in as freshmen and probably two of those guys would be starters for a ton of other Big 12 programs. You add in the fact that, Casey Kane is there. We have seen some good things out of him. So, but I think mainly because of the kind of the beef that Texas does have with their top 6 to 7 options, that it makes wide receiver the easy choice for me if we're looking for just a true sort of strength of this offense.
I got 2 more questions for you, Alex, before I let you go. And I'll ask you the first one. And the first one's going to be one more Longhorn one, and the second one's going to be a little bit more fun. Defensive line, we know that Sorrell is there, and we've talked about him as an edge guy. And then once we get past that, there's some unproven, guys that are in there. You'll have the numbers on Byron Murphy and what he was able to do last year. T'Vondre Sweat, obviously, and I know you'll talk about how scouts like him. There's going to be that other side where we're kind of looking to see what happens, over there. And then, Pete K talks about, yesterday that, Alfred Collins needs to be more consistent. And it feels like we've been saying that for years, at this point. So sometimes a guy is who he is. But your thoughts on the defensive line and, what, just kind of what you're expecting that, from them, or at least hoping to see from them this spring.
Yeah. Well, or fall. Yeah. I think that, well, look, I know that all these guys are receiving NFL interest, and even with Byron Murphy, as you've mentioned, he's a guy that there are agents that are starting to like. I talk to agents sometimes, and there are agents who are asking me like, "Have you heard anything behind the scenes? Like, is he talking to anybody? Like, is he thinking about coming out?" I'm like, I don't know. Like, you're the agent. You go ask him. but you also hear from scouts I've been hearing from scouts about T'Vondre Sweat since last year when they were asking me if he was going to come out. And so he's a guy who they really love. What they loved the most is his, one thing that really stood out to scouts about T'Vondre Sweat was how many batted passes he had. They just really liked how active his eyes were. They also liked how they just said it takes a lot of coordination, man, to get up there, bat down the football, get your body up that high. They just think it takes a lot of athleticism to come into engagement. Because here's the thing: it shows the ability if they're going to want to use him as a 2-gapping defensive tackle, which some schemes will. It does show the ability to engage, disengage, create space, and that's the kind of space that you need to look from gap to gap in a 2-gapping scheme. But to be able to do that, to be able to push him forward, and then to be able to jump up in the air, have the hand-eye coordination to get your hand on a football. It really is a pretty beastly athletic movement. And so the fact that he was able to do that with such great frequency last season is something that they really liked. And he would have gotten an invite to the Senior Bowl last year had he have come out. So the Senior Bowl liked him better than Keandre Coburn or Moro Ojomo last year. And I'm not sure whether fans really realize that about him. Scouts also love Alfred Collins, and they just talk about the fact he's going to have 82-inch wingspan. He's got almost 36-inch arms, which is something that, sounds just, if you look at him, I guess you can believe it, right? But it's just like 36-inch arms. Are you kidding me? And they just say that even if he doesn't hit this year the way that everybody's hoping, and I'm not sure he's going to play more than a 35 to 40% snap count, but they're still going to be interested because NFL coaches on war. They think that if no one can do it with them in college, like, God damn it, I'll do it with them.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think that
hating philosophy, Alex.
I think that's good, and I think those will sort of be the 3 key pieces. With, of course, guys like Vernon Broughton mixing in. I think that's sort of. I think Trill Carter is probably he's not going to be much of a contributor. I'll be interested to see how he looks, but based on what we've seen prior to the transfer, he's not going to be much of a contributor. So I think other than that, you just look at the edge guys. Baron Sorrell feels like he's pretty much a cornerstone feature, and we'll just have to see what happens at edge. I think when we go out there today, it'll be Justice Finkley. But I think as as things percolate, or as they sort of not percolate, what is it? As things evolve through camp, I think that we'll see some different guys move in there. Most certainly, Ethan Burke and some of these other dudes, like guys like Jamon Tapp will continue to get a look. It's a little bit concerning that after a whole spring, though, it's like if we just see Justice Finkley back in there, what'll that tell us about the impression these dudes made on the defensive staff during the spring, that they still kind of view him as the number one option?
So here's the last one, and it's kind of a fun one, and Gabriel kind of steals my thunder a little bit. I'm going to switch modes because there's about over 400 people watching this show, which means 85 to 90% of them probably play fantasy football. And everybody may not know that Alex also works for Roster Watch, a fantastic website as well. So first of all, you can feel free to promo and plug anything for Roster Watch at this moment. I'm curious about your this is the question. This is the last one. I'm curious your stance on running backs this year. It seems in fantasy football, Alex, there's a lot of questions at the running back position. I don't know how many guys that you can really just say check the box. Like you Christian McCaffrey, like, is he going to get all the touches this year? I mean, we've got the Josh Jacobs and Jonathan Taylor kind of craziness this year. Bijan Robinson, like, what's he going to do this year? I'll tell you, in our league, I'm highly considering going 0 RB and just waiting until the 7th round to start getting guys. I just want to kind of get your thoughts and breakdowns for the folks who are going to be fantasy football. Got drafts coming up soon. Just your thoughts on the running back position and how they should approach it.
Okay, yeah. First of all, of course, I'll always take an opportunity to plug my company. So yeah, you can go to rosterwatch.com, or listen to the Roster Watch podcast, the Roster Watch YouTube. We now have up the Ultimate Draft cheat sheet products that, if you follow the 3 simple rules at the top of the sheet of paper, an expert quality draft is always guaranteed. We're also there to help you through the course of the season with all your waiver, sit, start decisions, DFS, sports betting, best ball, dynasty, deep Devy leagues. We're there to help with it all. So that's rosterwatch.com. The most important thing you said, Anwar, is, geez, man, like, if I got you talking 0 RB, I'm a little bit worried about our league. Because here's the thing, I do agree with you. I mean, we just hit this real quick because I know you probably got to get to a break. But like McCaffrey, I can understand some worry there. To me, McCaffrey's a unicorn, and the reason why I think it's okay to take McCaffrey in those first couple picks is because the strength at wide receiver, you can start out like. Starting out with a McCaffrey or an Eckler, you can go with less of a 0 RB and more of like a hero RB, right? Where you have your one kind of big hero, and then you get back around, and what you see is that the 2-3 turn, because that's where you're going to be picking if you pick early in your first round, right? If it's a traditional snake draft. The guys who are available to you, it's always you can get like a Jalen Waddle and a Chris Olave at the sort of double it up. So you're just like, oh, Jesus, man, I got this nuclear start. Christian McCaffrey, Waddle, Olave, these kinds of players. Like guys like Devontae Smith will fall to that 2-3 turn. Sometimes you'll get an Amon-Ra St. Brown, probably not in PPR, but I'll bet you in half-point PPR formats, he'll drop 45, 50% of the time, where you can get just a stud alpha dog like that. But with what you're saying, it's completely true when you look at the ADPs, because if you start out, you have that early round pick, you just go, instead of Christian McCaffrey or something, you go a Justin Jefferson, a Jamar Chase, a Cooper Kupp. Now with Cooper Kupp, there's he got the MRI today on his hamstring, so he'll begin to fall just a little bit. But the running backs that are falling to that 2-3 turn are the guys Derrick Henry's falling down there now with Jonathan Taylor, with the fact that, but here's the thing, he's going to play. Josh Jacobs is going to play. They have to play. They have 10.1 million reasons to play. They're going to play. The other reason being is they can't deny material services via what was added through collective bargaining just coming into this last year. If you deny material services, they can keep you from accruing a year towards your free agency. So it's like, what are we talking about? Of course they're not. Of course they're going to play. They're going to make the money. Now, are they pissed at their teams and they're going to nurse an ankle injury and just not say their ankle's hurt and just say, screw you guys? Like that's what you should be worried about. But regardless, I mean, you got guys like Derrick Henry. You got guys like JT who's falling. Josh Jacobs falls. Tony Pollard will sometimes fall, which I don't understand. So, I mean, it makes sense to me. And even if you forego running back there, you start getting into where it's like no one wants to take Joe Mixon anymore because he had a bad season last year. No one cares to take Aaron Jones with a new quarterback like Jordan Love there in town. You end up getting into this spot where also even in the 5th round, 6th round, 7th round, good players, guys like David Montgomery, who's stepping into that Jamal Williams 17 touchdown role for the Detroit Lions last year. Guys like James Conner. Guys like, Rashad White, who's going to be the starting running back for an admittedly bad Buccaneers team this year, but like that's good running back volume there. 18 touches a game in the 6th, 7th round. So I can totally understand why somebody would go 0 RB. I would just say, if you want my exact views on exactly how a draft should go, you can go get the ultimate draft cheat sheet at rosterwatch.com, and it'll tell you who to pick at every single pick in the draft where you're totally leveraging ADP against your league mates.
See, and listen, go over there, check those guys out. I use you guys as a good resource, and Alex does a fantastic job. Alex has got many talents, and fantasy football is one of them. So make sure you guys check him out. Anytime I have you on the show, Alex, I will ask a fantasy question, not for my own, but help out the people for the draft. So because I'm going to do what I'm going to do regardless. So Alex, I will see you out at practice a little bit later, a little bit this afternoon. Thank you for coming on.
Pack your sunscreen, brother. I'll see you out there, man.
All right. Thank you so much.
Peace.
Alex Dunlap from Orangebloods and rosterwatch.com. You've got fantasy football information from him. You obviously were able to get some football information. We're going to do a quick little break. We got another cool thing that is not necessarily commercial. And when we come back, I'll talk about my social media standouts. My people on social media who I like some of the things that they put out. My social media standouts of the day so far. That's coming back after this 2-minute break. Don't go anywhere. Check this thing out. It's going to be cool. Blake, go ahead and drop it. It's going to be kind of awesome.
This Orangebloods recruiting flashback focuses on one of the biggest UT football stars of the last decade. Bijan Robinson was a 5-star prospect by Rivals when he signed with the Longhorns, finishing as the nation's number 18 overall prospect, the second best prospect in the state of Arizona, and the number 1 running back in the country, according to Rivals.com. Upon retrospect, it's kind of amazing that former running backs coach Stan Drayton was able to land Robinson when you consider that Ohio State was perceived as a massive leader for much of his recruitment. In fact, on the day he committed, Rivals.com recruiting analyst Adam Gorney told Orangebloods, quote, even after the Atlanta 5-star challenge, it almost felt like Ohio State was the foregone winner, Gorney said that day. But as it got closer, I think the realization that he would basically be going across the country to play football kind of set in. He really, really liked Texas and USC a lot, had connections to both schools, liked the staffs, and how they would use him, and wound up finding a school closer to home that he was very happy with. It wasn't until Robinson visited Texas on an unofficial visit for the spring game in April that Texas began to make it surge. By the time June rolled around, a couple of months later, the Longhorns had emerged as a team to beat in his recruitment. Robinson was a part of a 2020 recruiting class that finished 14th in the nation that year in the Rivals.com rankings, and what turned out to be the final full recruiting class for Tom Herman. A few years later, and there's not a ton of meat on the bone with respects to the elite prospects from that year outside of Robinson. Jake Majors and Jaron Thompson remain as a few of the higher ranked players in that class, but it's actually 2 of the lower ranked prospects in the class, Jahdae Barron and Jalen Ford, that have made the biggest impact as the class begins to wrap up its contribution to the Texas football program.
And welcome back. Okay, so we've got a couple of things because I'm going to get into my social media standouts. Also got some super chats that I need to catch up on. My main man Blake let me know. So I hope you guys are appreciating the show. Again, after this goes, we got one more hour of the show. I got Jason Suchomel that's coming on. We're going to talk recruiting. in the next hour as well. And don't forget, stay tuned because we got some more things coming on this channel today. There will be a show that comes on, drops at noon. That show is going to be from noon to 3 p.m. And then we got another show that's going to happen at 3 to 6 p.m. A lot of exciting shows today. I'm excited about both of them, by the way. I am pumped up. I wish honestly I didn't have to go to practice. I wish I could just sit here like you guys and be able to watch this thing all day long. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to do some work. So it's going to be a long day. Blake, I got some super chats. I need to catch up on those. My main man, is that Chad? Wait, you by my old eyes. What is going on? Chad. I'm so old. He goes, congrats on the new journey, Anwar. Appreciate it. I can't wait to watch the show every day. Put every day in bold letters and then with the exclamation points. Well, he's yelling that thing. So I appreciate that. Who will be the biggest standout in fall camp for the freshman class? It's a great question, Chad. I mean, so I feel like Derek Williams is going to be a guy that contributes, right? So so he's going to be a contributor. I'm waiting on CJ Baxter, to kind of, that I think that thing's going to be a work in progress as far as he's concerned. So I think he'll play a little bit, but I'm not quite sure what to expect for him right away. My best guess at this moment is probably going to be Anthony Hill. I think Anthony Hill is going to be that guy that when he gets on the field is going to be the guy that can't take off. And, Pete Kwiatkowski talked about it yesterday that, he's young, but he also makes mistakes, but he makes them at 100%. That means that's correctable. And so you can't teach effort. They talked about him being violent. So I think Anthony Hill is going to be the guy that we look back and say to yourself, like, that's going to be that dude. But I think the good part that you got to be about this season, I don't think Texas is going to have to rely on a ton of young guys in order to make that thing happen. So because of that, I think that Anthony Hill is going to be probably one of those few guys that kind of gets a chance to creep in. But it's a good question. What's the other super chat there? Thank you so much, Chad. Appreciate you. Go to watch every single day. Serenity, my little sis. How is my girl doing? She is Sheba Dog saying, good job on raising his thumbs up. Serenity, that's my girl right there. That is my girl, Serenity, doing big things. It's just a matter of time before Serenity blows up. She's putting in work and where she's at right now, but it's just a matter of time. Man, that made my day. I can't tell you that made my heart smile to see Serenity out here. I can't wait. Serenity, I'm going to have to get you on as a guest at some point. Maybe I have you to help me out with track. But I absolutely appreciate you. Love you, Serenity. I'll text you after the show and see how you've been. And glad that you and the dog are doing well. Love the outfits. Follow you on social media. You're killing the game, girl. You're killing the game. Don't hurt them, girl. Don't hurt them. But appreciate you and love you as always. And then so we got a question on who will be our starting O-line going into the Bama game, barring injury. Like it's the O-line is going to look pretty much the same as last season for the most part. Like they're guys that they're going to want to kind of mix in. And stuff, but you got to see if maybe DJ Campbell. What you got to be able to see is that the big thing is you got to see what DJ Campbell can do. I feel like Cam Williams has kind of been. I think Cam is on the outside looking in, and I think that Cam is probably that right tackle next year. Now I'm not quite sure he's going to make it this year. And DJ Campbell, can he get into that mix? Hayden Connor. I'm telling you, low key, Hayden Connor's a guy that they want to push Jake Majors in training camp. I'm telling you this. I know this. My sources have told me this. They want Hayden Connor to be a guy that pushes for that center spot because they want to get big. They want to be big on the offensive line. That is an absolute goal of theirs, absolute goal. So they want to be big on the offensive line. So watch out for that. But I think for the most part, when the dust settles, the offensive line is going to look pretty much how it did last year, okay? And then there's one more from Just a Dude, who I appreciate, you subscribe to the channel. I'm reading everything, Just a Dude. I'm multitasking. I saw that you subscribe to the channel. I don't know if you say you subscribe to the channel, you subscribe to Watch to Watch. I thought it was right around that time, though. But I did see you, Just a Dude. Just so you know, had eyes on you. You get any advice from freshmen? No one is talking about that could make an instant impact. That person, honestly, that's not getting enough love, Just a Dude, is Derek Williams, man. I'm telling you, Derek is that guy who I feel like we don't talk about him enough, but I can tell you what my sources have told me about Derek. Because you guys know, if you remember, I believe Sark said on signing day that he thought Derek Williams would be kind of a first-round pick. That's what he said. And at the end of the day, Derek Williams is a guy that I've heard nothing but great things about this summer. I'm talking about nothing but great things about him. He's a guy that's probably going to start off contributing on special teams. But I've heard so many great things about him that I asked Pete K about it yesterday. Because I like to get people to speak about it because, my sources are one thing, but then the reporter's job. I'll give you some reporting one-on-one. Reporter's job is when you report something and you report it with your sources that you then ask a coach about it and you get them on the record. That's what you're supposed to do. Too many reporters report something and then they never ask. And I feel like it's kind of hiding. Like, don't report something. Don't quote unquote break something and then never ask about it. That's an easy way out. So I reported about Derek Williams and I asked, Pete K about it because I wanted to be out there. And he talked about how violent he was, how aggressive he was. Like he talked about, it was very complimentary about him. And then at that point, he also started talking, about how he's probably going to be a special teams guy. But I have heard, Just a Dude, that Derek Williams is going to be that guy in the future. I'm telling you, they absolutely love him. If you got to buy stock in Derek Williams, buy it now. Buy it while it's low because he is going to be the guy of the future. They view him as a guy that once he hits the field is not coming off, a potential 3-and-done kind of person. So that's a freshman that really no one's talking about. But I'm telling you, if you buy it now, you're going to say, man, I remember back on August 2nd, this first show, the old-fashioned sports show. I remember Anwar telling me about that. I took a mental note, and you're going to be the smartest guy in the room, a year or so from now, more than likely. I'm telling you, he's going to be really good. Okay, so here's the deal. So I have my social media standouts. And we're going to go, I'm probably going to go a little bit over, my 10 o'clock thing. And that's fine. I'm going to adjust. I'm just going to do my show. That's the beauty of what this show is. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to be free flowing. It just kind of is what it is. And I'm going to get into my social media standouts. So typically what I would try to do in this third hour, I would call it going into the fourth quarter blitz. But it's my show. Do the hell ever I want to do. Fourth quarter blitz, second quarter blitz. It is what it is. I am going to do my social media standouts and make sure when you see me online, you see Blake online, you see cool stuff, let us know. I'm getting into my social media standouts. People I think they've done a good job on social media, things I want to talk about, topics that are there. And let's go ahead and start getting some of them knocked out. Blake, let's get the first social media standout there. And it's from my man, Doc Texas. Shout out to Doc Texas, who is an amazing follow. Love everything that you do. I love that he has it. Imagine losing 49-0. But shout out to my main man, Doc. Keep doing what you do. Love what you do. 4th and 12, and you have to convert. Which 5 are on the field? And he gives you his top 5. He gives you the 5 guys to choose from, 5 guys to answer. And of course, obviously, we see Xavier, Jordan Whittington is out there. Of course, we see Jatavian, Jonte is out there as well. We see Brooks. Like you see all those guys out there, and I really feel like I like it because and then Blake must be picked 5 out of the 9. I'm gonna do one better because this is the 4th and 12, and who do the 5 out there that you got to convert? Listen, I'm going to start with obviously Xavier. I'm going to start with Jatavian. Of course, I'm going to have Jordan out there. I like Brooks out there as a kind of a good option. And whoever else you want, I do like Jonte. I do like Jonte, but I wouldn't be opposed to, by the way, just because of the hype that's out there, and I see the Savion that's out there, and then I wouldn't be opposed to putting Ryan Niblett in that mix because I've been hearing a lot of things about Ryan Niblett. But at the end of the day, you can take that off the screen, Blake. At the end of the day, the question becomes who are you going to throw the ball to, right? And the easy answer is the open receiver, right? The easy answer is the open receiver. So let's go who is my first look. Who's my first read? The first person that I'm looking for is, of course, going to be Xavier. That's my first person. The second person who I feel, knock on wood, has good hands. The second person that I'm looking at, and I don't know if this is going to surprise you guys or not. The second person I'm looking at is going to be actually Jordan Whittington. I like my chances with Jordan Whittington in a 50-50 ball situation. I'll be honest with you. I like my chances at Jordan. He's not my guy that I feel like is going to give me 80, but he's my guy. If you're talking about 4th and 12, he's 50-50. I love my chances of Jordan Whittington coming out with that ball. And then after that, I'm probably looking at JT, right? And anything else I get after that, like a Jonte or something like that, man, that I feel like that's touchdown. Just be honest with you. If it's Jonte, then I feel like it's touchdown. So there is that. And by the way, thank you guys. Welcome to the show. Welcome to social media standouts. We're heading to the 10 o'clock hour. We just kind of crossed it up right here. Just so you know, I got one more hour left. But we're going to have like a little bit of a break. We got another show that's starting at 12, another one that's going to be coming at 3. Stay tuned to that. There's a lot of great things that are going on the show. I'm having a blast right now. It's been kind of awesome. Okay, let's do some more social media standouts here, Blake. Let's put another person on the screen, another tweet that is on the street from Kyle. Another really good follow. He's got a book. He's the thing is, and I want to say this, and I want to make it really clear. And one of the reasons why I want to show, keep the Kyle thing up here for a second, though, is that these guys that do the stuff, and it's a labor of love for them, that tweet out their stuff and really are what I call super fans. Like I like what they do. I appreciate what they do. There's no hate in my blood for anything that they do. Like I enjoy it. And so to all those guys, like I salute you. I salute all of what you guys do. I respect you. I know other people in my industry, in my profession, they kind of get their Jimmy's Russell because they feel like you step into their territory, and you guys have done a great job of building up your social media following, but I'm just letting you know I'm just hear it from me. I respect you guys. I love what you guys do. I read all your stuff. I don't always retweet you or anything. I'm busy and things like that effect, but I love what you guys do, and we'll always show you love and always show you respect. Kyle says, imagine thinking your team has a better QB room than the Texas Longhorns. I love this. I absolutely love this. First and foremost, I don't want to be the guy that has to stand by Malik in pictures. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I want to be the guy that's on the side of him. Like, I don't need, especially me, and I'm fighting the dad bod thing. Like, but if I'm the quarterback, I'm like, man, can I be by somebody else? Like, where's Charles Wright? Can I stand by Charles Wright? Sorry, Charles. I'm just messing with you, dog. Charles Wright's like, damn, I just caught a stray. Like, damn, Anwar, like, what did I do to you? I'm like, but Charles, I'm just saying, do you really want to stand by Malik in the photo? Like, when they took that photo, all shirts off and everything, I'm like, man, I want to be, it's like Quinn was like off to the side in that photo. He was like, man, I don't want to be around. I'm not doing that. I don't blame Quinn. I would not want to be the guy that has to stand by Malik. But and again, you're right, Paxton. Like, they're all pretty jacked, but I always what God said was Malik. To get what Kyle's talking about and the QB room being better. First, do you want to? First of all, I wouldn't trade the Texas QB room for many other rooms in the country. I can't think of too many that I would trade. Because it'd be trading for the person of this year, and then question marks after that. So, I mean, I don't know what the Washington QB room looks like with Penix behind it, right? And I don't, you got to assume the USC is the QB room is probably pretty good, right? So, because it's they got Caleb Williams, and we know this guy, we know that guy, this guy QBs, right? But I do like this QB room, and I'm going to say this, and I know somebody think of this as blasphemy. I'm just going to say it just to say it. Not just to say it, but just because I believe it. Just don't sleep on Malik Murphy in the future. Don't sleep on it. And I don't have a dog in this race. At the end of the day, I want to cover good games. I want to cover Texas games. And at the end of the day, I want to cover wins, because when I cover wins, you guys are happy. Just that simple, right? If Texas wins, you guys are happy. And that's all that really matters to me. So am I rooting for the team to win? Not per se, but I know if this team wins, that you guys are going to be happy and energetic. So yeah, go ahead. But just don't sleep on Malik. And look, and Ketch will give you all the things and all the reasons why a 5-star should excel. And now, 5-stars always start by year 2. And maybe that may end up being the thing. That may end up being the thing that happens. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. But Malik Murphy will have a chance to play in the NFL. Malik Murphy has a very good chance of getting drafted. Just off the measurables that he has. So don't sleep on him. It's all I've got to say. And we'll see what happens. And here's the good thing. And this is the best thing. Don't do some more social media standouts. But the best thing about it is where Texas it's a problem, but it's a good problem. And the good problem that Texas has right now is that they've got so much talent at so many different positions. At some point, guys are just going to leave. And you've got to wrap your head around that. You've got to wrap your mind around that. You've got to accept this as your new reality. This is what happens. This is what we call rich folks problems, right? Rich people problems. And what happens is you've got so much talent that guys are going to roll at some point. At some point, because they're going to want to play. And this is what you got to wrap your head and mind around, is saying, it's all right. Go be happy somewhere else. And so I hope when it's all said and done that Texas can keep all these quarterbacks here. But you also know that, hey, to the victor goes the spoils. And if someone rolls out, someone rolls out. It's a good problem to have, though. It beats the alternative. My God, we've lived that alternative life. It has not been good. And we have talked ourselves into 18-wheeler packages, and we have talked ourselves into a lot of things that just never amounted. So this, trust me, guys, absolutely beats the alternative. Go ahead, Blake. Give me another social media standouts. Let's give us somebody else that we can talk about. College Football Report. It says Darrell Royal at Texas, 1957 to 1976. This is before Blake was ever born. Not even thought of. His parents may not have been born at that point. But Darrell Royal at Texas, 167 and 47. That's a 77.4 record. 7 10-plus win season. 10 Cotton Bowl appearances. 9 9 AP top finishes. And that's back in the day where that meant a lot. Like Associated Press was kind of like the holy grail for you young people. Like the Associated Press poll was the thing that you got judged by. And so that's beyond impressive. 3 natties, 11 SWAC titles, back-to-back national championships, and single-handedly created the blue blood status for Texas. I know, like sometimes we kind of get caught up in the new. We kind of get caught up in all the things of the now, and sometimes you forget the pioneers. You forget, and okay, it's named that the stadium's named after somebody. Of course, the stadium has to be named after somebody, right? That's every stadium's got to be named after somebody. But yes, Darren Royal, what he was able to do, what he was able to create, this Texas legacy, and it was great, and of course, this is where we're at now. So, and yes, Darren Royal, clearly the GOAT. There's definitely something to be said for that. All right, Blake has got a couple more. So Blake, go ahead and drop another one on us. See what else we got for some social media standouts. Longhorns Big 12C. Okay, well, first of all, you're going to it's Big 12 country is what he said. That's right, it got cut off. So I'm sorry about that. But Longhorns Big 12 country, but which, by the way, you're gonna have to change your name soon. Man, you can only ride that one for a little bit longer, and then at some point, you got to figure out what that thing is going to be. If I was you, make sure you get ahead of that name, because somebody's going to try to steal your thunder and try to take SEC country or something to that effect. That's probably already taken. So you're gonna have to ride that out. You got some time, but not long. Okay. He says, hey, there's the rivalry and it's all fun, but things like this are above it. Show your support and send good energy to Julie Venables, wife of Sooners head coach Brett Venables, as she battles and defeats breast cancer. Yes, it's a this tweet hits home, for a lot of reasons. First and foremost, obviously, send more than thoughts and prayers. Make sure you send your prayers, your good energy, your everything to the wife of her, because yes, there's a rivalry, and the thing about the rivalry is that it's we all would like to talk smack, right? I told you guys I've got 49-0 right here. That's that credential that I've got over here. I keep pointing to it because I want to make you smile and make you laugh because of all that stuff. But there's certain things that are just bigger than sports, right? And that clearly is bigger than sports. And it's interesting that comes up because I was talking to one of my good friends, Anna, who I think I guys have mentioned to you, who's been battling breast cancer and been going through her treatments. We were talking last night about it, and just how that battle is, and it's so real, and it's real for me talking to someone who's close to me who's going through that. I can't imagine when that hits home, like for a person like Coach Venables, like what that's like dealing like, because I know what it's like talking to someone every day and every week. They've got to go through their treatments. And I know my friend, she goes through her treatments, and we talk beforehand and afterhand and what that is and how draining that is and how it sucks the life out of you. And of course, the fear of like your mortality is like looking you and staring you in the face at the moment, and you have kids and all that. So I hear that, I understand that, and props to you, Big 12, for acknowledging that. Thoughts and prayers. Hopefully that she gets well. Hopefully for a speedy recovery. And when it's all said and done, we get back to the smack talk of Texas smacking down OU again. So there's that. So thoughts and prayers. And we'll hold off on OU sucks for right now. And we'll put that in the next segment. We'll get back to where we need to be. And one more social media standout. Let's do one more, Blake. Let's see who else we got that's out there. Simple. Texas football going ahead and announcing two things. One, Kelvin Banks named to the Outland Trophy preseason watch. And of course, Jalen Ford, which is on that Bronco Trophy watch list. And then, this is the time of year when these watches come out. And so, all those things are happening. And so Kelvin Banks, that guy who, I spoke to someone recently who they were telling me that there's a belief within the building that Kelvin Banks is NFL ready right now. Like right now, they feel like if you had to come out for the draft tomorrow, that he would be a high pick. So that's the belief. Others will tell you, they think top 10. But Banks is going to be that guy that gets a lot of accolades, a lot of awards when it's all said and done. He'll get more love from the Big 12 riders who really don't. It is what it is with that Big 12 list. It is what it is. It's what I hate to say guys get robbed or jobs or anything to that effect, but that happened. But yeah, you've got him. You've got a Jalen Ford, right? And Jalen Ford is that dude. He's that man. You just need him to stay healthy this season. And then all the runway in front of him is incredibly long of what he's able to accomplish. And what's going to be interesting, I think, guys, lots of people get put on the preseason watch list. Like that's just kind of what's looking ahead. But what's really going to be the barometer is what the list and the awards that people get put on after the season. Like that is going to be one of the things. And Chris Bennett is right. PFF didn't have Banks on their first team All Big 12. That was crazy, Chris. You're absolutely right. Thanks for pointing that out. Good to see you, Chris. I don't know if I've interacted with you in a while, but I hope you've been doing well. Hope the family's doing well as well. But good to see you again. But yes, like what's going to be interesting going forward is going to be the people who get put, who you get to see afterwards. And I'll be curious, and you guys got to start thinking about, who are going to be the guys that get recognized. What awards does Quinn win when the season's all said and done? What awards does Jatavian win when the season is all said and done? What award does Xavier win or AD Mitchell when it's all said and done? And awards don't, it is what it is. But these are personal accolades. These are humans. Like they want that. They want all. They no one's going to say I don't want the awards. And the thing is, when the team awards come, the success comes, and that's what's going to be awesome as well. So, so those are my social media standouts for today. And that's going to be, again, a daily segment. So if you see people on social media, you say, man, I need to make sure that those social media standouts get in here. Make sure you hit me up. Make sure you hit Blake up. Make sure you tag me on Twitter or whatever. DM me. Make sure I get it in. If it's good enough, I'll make sure I highlight it and put it on the show. All right, we're going to do a quick 2-minute break. And on the other side of the break, we're going to have Jason Suchomel coming in. He's going to talk to us about recruiting. He's going to talk to us about UT football. We're almost done, but we're not done. Don't go anywhere. And by the way, we've got I got 2 more. I don't know how many more he's got, Blake, but we don't got a commercial. We just got a cool 2-minute break. Go ahead and check this thing out. This is going to be straight fire. Check it out. And we got Jason Suchomel coming on.
This Orangebloods recruiting flashback focuses on the answer to a long overdue trivia question. Who was the last 5-star defensive tackle signed by the Texas Longhorns? The answer? Brenham defensive tackle Malcolm Brown out of the 2012 recruiting class. Brown finished as the nation's number 26 overall prospect, the 4th best player in the state of Texas, and the number 5 defensive tackle in the country, according to Rivals.com. In a year when the Longhorns signed 4 of the top 7 prospects in Texas, Jonathan Gray, Kendall Sanders, Caleb Jones, and Brown, only Brown emerged as a true success, as injuries and off-field incidents left scars on the entire 2012 recruiting class for the Longhorns. Early in Brown's recruitment, going into his junior season, Texas A&M was a big leader. In fact, he told Orangebloods that, quote, "It's close to home and I would like to go there. It's in the Big 12. There's some opportunities for me to go there and do some stuff on the defensive line." A year later, Brown was a Texas commitment along with teammate Tim Cole, who committed on the same day in what turned out to be a massive head-to-head win over the Aggies. Brown told Orangebloods.com on the day he committed, basically, I want to be a Longhorn and I want to get a good education. Brown didn't earn his 5th star until his strong performances in the Under Armour All-America game after his senior season, which forced rivals' hands in the rankings process. Brown was a member of the 2012 recruiting class that finished 2nd in the nation in the Rivals.com rankings, but was one of the biggest recruiting disasters in school history. Of the 28 players signed in the class, only Brown, Hassan Ridgeway, Duke Thomas, and Marcus Johnson played on Sundays. Most of the guys in that class never came close to the kind of success that Brown enjoyed throughout his career.
Man, that was good stuff by Jeff Ketchum. Like some good recruiting things that you may not have known. I like that those nuggets, and again, there'll be more of those to come. Now it is time for us to head into the Speakeasy Lounge to get Jason Suchomel in here. My main man Blake with the intro. Go ahead and drop it. Let's get into the Speakeasy Lounge, Blake. Let's. What's up, Jason?
Speakeasy Lounge, man. Is it 10:20 on a Wednesday, Anwar? Is that too early for a cocktail?
It's not too early. and knowing you and I, we probably have still some leftovers from last night within our system that need to get flushed out. Hence
No
my
comment.
fourth bottle of water that I'm on. That's my comment. So, but I appreciate Jason Suchomel, obviously from Orangebloods.com. Long time. Jason, how many years you been at Orangebloods at this point? Do you remember?
Yeah, I do. It was, about 21 and a half. Ironically, Anwar, I got married in March of 2002, and then I started Orangebloods like a week later, man. So, yeah.
Damn. Where's no honeymoon?
I took a honeymoon. Yeah, I was like, hey, Ketch, I'll join him for about a week, and I'll see you in a week. I'm going on honeymoon.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I had a question earlier, Jason, and I'll start from a recruiting standpoint with you. The question was Colin Simmons related, obvious, right? That's the easy question, but the question was really kind of like where Texas kind of stands, with Colin Simmons and if they're in a good place as relates to him. And so I kind of want to get your thoughts on that. Give us a kind of a Colin Simmons update if you can.
Yeah, I knew that would be a topic. It would come up at some point today, but Colin's a tough guy to read. He honestly, he's kind of gone away from doing interviews directly through him. So you don't get his direct thoughts, but kind of the summary is he was at LSU last weekend for a multi-day visit, a 2-day visit. He stayed there through Sunday afternoon. There was some thought initially he might leave LSU on Saturday, go to Texas A&M for a visit. That didn't happen. He stayed in LSU the entire weekend. So Texas A&M didn't get him on campus. Now, as you would expect, Anwar, especially with a guy like Colin Simmons, Colin's smart, man. He knows how to play the game and kind of get people excited and do that kind of stuff. So there's been a lot of LSU chatter, a lot of talk on social media. He's posting pictures from his visit and like, hey, is that the place? And he and some teammates talking about going there together, getting everybody excited. I mean, LSU's a strong player. Listen, I've always thought LSU, in fact, going back probably a year or so ago, I thought LSU was probably the team to beat. I felt that way for a long time. Coming out of this weekend, there's a lot of LSU buzz, and that's kind of expected. I mean, you knew it was going to happen, but it doesn't mean it doesn't catch your attention. And Texas fans are like, oh my gosh, how real is this? Is he going to wind up at LSU? I still think it's LSU. I still think A&M is going to be a player at some point, and obviously Texas. I still think Texas is the team to beat. I know that kind of contradicts what some sources out of Baton Rouge are probably thinking, but there's still confidence in Austin. I still think it's Texas in the driver's seat. But, and I said this in my column, I posted it last night on Orangebloods, they're going to have to fight and claw that one. Even I don't care. And he's supposed to announce a commitment date today, Anwar. So, we'll know when he's going to commit at some point today. I don't care if he says, hey, I'm committing tomorrow, and he commits to Texas tomorrow. They're still going to have to work to fight and claw to maintain that commitment. So I think there's a lot of movement left in that one. He's talking about taking official visits in the fall, including one to LSU. Maybe A&M gets him on campus at some point. But as it stands right now, I still like Texas's position, with the understanding that there's still going to be some movement in that one as things go on.
Yeah, and the thing is, as you're talking, Jason, is it kind of like the thought process kind of behind the scenes? Because I feel like I've heard this before, is that it's sometimes a little bit harder when they get early commits, and they almost prefer guys to commit later because it's harder to almost hold on to them, at that point. So is there an advantage as far as that's concerned?
I don't think so. You hear that argument sometimes, but I think you'd rather be playing from ahead and try to hold up. We saw it last year. And anytime you recruit high profile players, other teams aren't going to go away. I mean, Derek Williams, you guys were talking about earlier, I saw. I mean, that was a guy that Texas recruited out of Louisiana, and LSU tried to steal him late. But, I still think you'd rather have him on your commitment list, trying to hold on to them rather than trying to flip them from another school. I mean, it's kind of the chicken or the egg. Anytime someone doesn't commit to Texas, you hear Texas fans. This is not just Texas fans. I mean, every team does this, or every fan base does this. They say, "Oh, that's okay. We'll flip him late." Well, it's possible, but that's not where you want to be. I mean, you want to be where Georgia is right now with 20-something elite commitments, and then you just kind of try to coast to the finish line if you can. There is something to be said about flipping guys, and it's exciting. I mean, I do feel like if Texas has the kind of season that's I think most people feel they're capable of, I think Texas could certainly flip a few big-time guys in this class. But I'm of the belief that you'd rather have them committed and try to hold on to them rather than try to flip them from another school.
So let me ask you about another name that's the big name that's out there, Kobe Black. That's another guy, another elite person. I know you wrote about him in your column today that's on Orangebloods, your 3-2-1, where Jason gives not only the recruiting breakdown, every week, but then also gives his football thoughts and other things. Where are we at? Where we stand as far as Kobe Black? What's some of the latest buzz on him?
Yeah, Kobe was interesting. We knew he was going to Texas A&M on Saturday of last weekend. Well, he wound up visiting Texas on Friday, a bit under the radar. So Texas gets him on campus, then he hits A&M the following day. I was able to talk to Kobe's dad on Monday afternoon. Awesome guy, by the way. But just had a really good conversation. And he accompanied Kobe on the visit to Austin. He didn't get to go to College Station because he had to work. But he said, "Hey, man, it was a great visit." And, they got time with the coaches, of course. They talked to Sark. They talked to Terry Joseph. But the thing he said that stood out the most was they talked to Michael Huff quite a bit, which they didn't get to do on Kobe's official visit. But Michael Huff was in town this weekend, so he spent a lot of time with Kobe. And like Kobe's dad was saying, hey, Michael Huff is kind of the model of what Kobe wants to do. I mean, he was an All-American, an award winner at Texas. He goes to the NFL and has a standout career there. Now he's doing some real estate stuff, which really interests Kobe. He's got business ventures in and around Austin that really interests Kobe. That's something he'd like to do after his football days are over. So it was an interesting perspective that they got to see that they hadn't heard previously. And like, hey, look, this is what Texas can do for you. I mean, I'm living proof of it. Michael Huff is living proof of it. Look what Texas can do for you. So he follows that visit up, really good Texas visit with a visit to A&M. And people at A&M feel pretty good too. I mean, they don't feel like they're in the lead by any means, but I think that one's a lot like Colin Simmons, Anwar. I think it's going to be Texas, LSU, or Texas A&M. I favor Texas slightly in that one. And I know a lot of fans think like he's a lock just because he's from Waco and Jelani McDonald, his teammates, a freshman at UT, former high school teammate as a freshman at UT. I think this one's a lot closer than people realize. I think Texas is in a good spot, but he's going to take an LSU official visit in the fall. He's going to take an Alabama official visit in the fall, and then maybe commit. He's going to take those probably in September and then maybe commit shortly after. So again, like Colin Simmons, work to be done there, but I do like Texas's position right now. If I'm forced to pick or forced to bet, put money down on both of those guys, I'm predicting Texas for both of them. Okay,
and another big name that's out there, so I'll just play the hits for you, Jason, to make it easy. Ryan Wingo. That's another big name. That's another name that people love, and maybe because his name is really cool, So maybe that has like something to do.
Couldn't hurt
with
he's
it.
a 5-star guy. Yeah.
But, well, and being 5-star, but I mean, he's got Kobe Black, Ryan Wingo. Like these are badass names. I'm not gonna lie. But Ryan Wingo as well. Anything new? Anything that with him as Jason?
Yeah, quite a bit. And you are touching on the three biggest guys. Wingo last week was busy. The dead period lifted last week, and it's back in place starting this week for all of August. But he took visits to Missouri. He went to Tennessee, and he went to Texas A&M last week. So he was busy during that non-dead period, I guess if you will. But as you'd expect, I read interviews from rivals, and he as you'd expect, Anwar had great things to say about all of them. He did say he'll probably take a Texas A&M visit in December. He's kind of stuck to his guns that, hey, he said all along, I'm probably not going to decide until that December signing period. That's when he'll obviously sign, but he's going to make his announcement then. He said that all along. There's been speculation maybe he moves that date up, but it doesn't sound like it. He's still saying, hey, I want to wait and take some visits in the fall, possibly even December, take some visits, and then commit in December. I think on Wingo, here's the nuts and bolts of it. I think it's going to be Texas or Missouri. There's a lot of Texas buzz, and it's interesting. There's a lot of confidence in Austin. Okay, there's a lot of people that are confident about Texas's chances with Ryan Wingo. I talked to a Missouri source who I really trust. I've known this guy for a long time. He's really well connected. He and I were texting. I don't remember what day it was, maybe Saturday or something over the weekend after Wingo had visited Missouri. And this guy was like, hey, Missouri feels really confident. Like he said, I'm not going to put in like a future cast prediction or anything crazy like that just to get people all riled up. And he said he thinks it's going to be Missouri. I'm hearing from people in Austin and around Austin that they think it's going to be Texas. Wingo still has visits coming up in the fall. So lots of time in that one. But I do think ultimately it comes down to Texas or Missouri. I just don't know what side to believe right now, man. They both seem really, really confident. So, but I mean, listen, NIL is going to play a big part in all of these, including for Wingo. Missouri, traditionally, you would think Texas is probably a bigger NIL component than Missouri can offer, but it's an in-state kid that Missouri doesn't want to let go. They're going to put all the chips they can into Ryan Wingo and try to keep him in state. So that one's going to be interesting to follow. I think ultimately, though, it comes down to Texas or Missouri. I don't really have a great feel of which way I would lean right now.
So, hey, there's a super chat that's there, and I want to, Jason, I'm going to throw this one at you because Lane A throws this thing in the super chat, and this is going to be a question for you. If you do not include Jamal Charles, is our running back room as talented as Ramonce Taylor and Selvin Young? Is the running back room as talented as those guys? I guess take Jamal Charles out.
Yeah. That's a good question. And I'll address it two ways. Is it as talented in terms of potential and what those guys were when they were coming into UT? Yeah, I think it is. I think, CJ Baxter is, arguably the top back in the country when he came out. People forget Jaden Blue before he sat out his senior year. That guy was a borderline 5-star type talent. People thought of him in that kind of way. Jonathan Brooks set all kinds of records, small school classification, but there were college coaching sources that I talked to that thought Jonathan Brooks was the best running back in the country in his class. So in terms of potential, yeah, I do think, Lane, I think it is that talented. In terms of production, obviously it hasn't been there. They haven't done it yet. All of these guys are pretty unproven, aside from some flashes, what we've seen of Jonathan Brooks. But if we're talking in potential in terms of a ceiling, in terms of depth, yeah, I think it's every bit as talented. And those are really good players, Ramonce and Selvin Young. But I think this running back room has bona fide NFL talent in it. We just need to see which guys kind of rise to the occasion.
That kind of bleeds into what I was going to kind of transition into, Jason, which is we're going to be out at practice today, this afternoon. Might be a little hot. So
yeah, a little, yeah.
You and I need to continue hydrating so we don't get dehydrated while we're out there and pass out and at least need an IV needle. I asked Alex, I had Alex on a little bit earlier. Yeah. I'm kind of curious, we always think about position groups that we want to focus in on. Is there one group that you are really eager to see when we get out there a little bit later on today?
Man, it's hard to narrow it down to one, but I will.
Give me your top three then.
Okay. But first off, if I'm going to pick one, I'm going to say I'm a little little peeved at you, Anwar, because I heard you hyping up Malik Murphy before I came on. Don't be jumping on my Malik Murphy bandwagon, dude. Come on, that's my bandwagon.
That is your guy. That is your guy.
Yeah, but I've said it before. I'm excited to watch the backup quarterback race, right? Between Malik and Arch. We know it, Quinn. We know he's the locked-in starter, but there's a chance one of those two guys, and you can throw Charles right if he wants to try to climb the depth chart, but somebody's going to be needed at some point this year, whether it's for a series or two, if Quinn has to go out for a series or two, or, knock on wood, or God forbid, if it doesn't happen, but, if he has to miss multiple games, who is going to be the guy? You got to think it's Malik Murphy, the way he came out of spring, but is Arch going to be able to push him? I don't know. I'm excited to watch the quarterback position, but not so much about Quinn. In my column last night, I posted 10 things or whatever it was that I was excited to see, and Quinn was way down the list. But that would be the backup quarterbacks. I want to see Anthony Hill, the true freshman, just see how he looks after some time in the program. And then I'm really anxious to see some of these receivers, some of the new faces at receivers, including the freshman, A.D. Mitchell, the transfer, getting narrow back. So I'm excited to see those guys work too. So if I had to pick three, and I could keep going, but those are probably
yeah. What do you think? What do you think about the linebacker battle, Jason? And what do you kind of make out of that? Because it feels like we've got the incumbent, so we're like, okay, Jalen Ford, he checks all the boxes,
Sure.
You're good, right? And then it was just kind of just going into this never land of you just don't know, and there's lots of names that are out there. But what do you think about that position battle, and what do you think about some of the guys who are kind of going to be in the mix?
It's a good question. What do I think about it? I think it's got a lot of potential, but it's a lot of unproven potential. We talked yesterday on the modcast. We talked about David Benda, and he's projected to be the starter in terms of when they walk out there today, probably the starter beside Jalen Ford, of course. Can he hold off Anthony Hill? Can some of these young guys make a move? I mean, Darian Gillette, we talked about, he's more of an edge guy right now, but long term, when they recruited him, they were saying, hey, you're going to be a middle linebacker for us. Can he make that move pretty quickly? Leonga Lafau. I mean, Leonga, it's funny, when I saw him during recruiting events, he's undersized, certainly, but I've kind of heard just grapevine chatter that he's done really well since arriving on campus. So could he maybe surprise some people and show up early and play early and play well? My overall thoughts on where I think there's a lot of talent there. But it is, if I'm picking one of the more worrisome positions in this group, linebacker would be at the top of the list for me, just because you mentioned Jalen Ford's he checks all the boxes. He's obviously the incumbent there. He's going to do what he does and be ultra productive. What's going to happen beside him? Can they have a reliable, consistent player beside him? We don't know. We haven't seen it from any of these guys yet, including David Benda, who's 3 years in the program now, or in his fourth year, but hasn't produced at a high level, hasn't played a ton of football yet for Texas. So a lot of buzz about David Benda, but me, Anwar, I'm the guy that always says, hey, I've got to see it for my own eyes before I believe it. So I would say cautious optimism about the linebacker group. I think some of those young guys are going to be studs. I just don't know who, and I just don't know how quickly.
Let's go from the question mark to almost like an exclamation point, which let's talk about the strongest groups, right? Where are the groups that you look at and you say to yourself, they are stacked at that position. Like, I have no worries about anything. They are bona fide. Do you have more than one group that you'd say that checks all the boxes?
Yeah, I think I can talk myself into more than one. Certainly receiver. I'm going to start at wide receiver. Okay. I mean, they've got, Sark mentioned yesterday, they've got 8 guys they feel on scholarship, 8 scholarship guys in that room, and they feel like all 8 of them can be valuable contributors. And I tend to agree with them, including the true freshmen that are in the program. There's 3 true freshmen that I think all 3 of them have a chance to play quite a bit. I mean, they're going to have to, scratch and claw against some of these upperclassmen, but I think they all have a chance to be really good players. So wide receiver would be the obvious one for me. I think offensive line's pretty well settled. I mean, they've got some depth and there's potential for some movement there. Everybody always wants to push Jake Majors out of that center position. And I don't think it's going to happen, man. I think people just need to buckle up and be like, Jake is going to be your center. Maybe that guard position, can Cam Williams come in and shake that up? One of the guard positions, I don't know. But I think they're solid across the board with some depth. honestly, Anwar, I think quarterback. I think you can make a case that quarterback is really well set. And I get it. Malik hasn't played. Arch hasn't played. But one of those two dudes is going to be really, really good, if not both of them. Probably both of them. But one of them is going to be really good. Quinn, I expect to be really good this year. So quarterback set. Defensively, I still have some concerns about the defensive line. We've talked about linebacker. Defensive line has some talented players, but I still think that group needs to take a big step forward. Somebody or somebodies, plural, have to step up and take that next step in their career and be impactful, consistently impactful players. I think in the secondary, I feel really good about the Texas secondary. Yeah, there's some youth there, some unproven guys there, but we talked about it yesterday and we kind of went through. I was like, damn, you kind of forget about how much depth they have. Again, some of it's young and unproven, but there's a lot of young talent mixed in with some veteran talent in that secondary. I think the secondary is going to be a strength of that defense.
Last question for you, Jason, before you run. And this goes into your wheelhouse because obviously everyone on his team you've talked to since they've been a recruit. If I actually give me a freshman to watch, who's the freshman that you think when it's all said and done, when we get to December, you'll say that person probably had the biggest impact this season?
Oh, man. I mentioned Derek Williams. Anthony Hill's an easy choice. Anwar, I'm going to go – there's a lot of them when we could go with. Manny Muhammad, Vosick. Boy, there's a lot. But I'm going to go with – there's a really good recruiting class. Yeah. I really think – CJ Baxter I didn't even mention. So Baxter would probably be the logical choice. Mm-hmm. I'm going to kind of buck the trend a little bit and go with Jonte Cook, though. And I know it's a stacked receiver room, right? It's tough. He's going to have to fight his way for reps. But Jonte, I'm telling you, man, that dude's got a different mindset. He's ultra talented. We saw it in the spring. He did well, but he is ultra competitive and ultra confident too. He's not going to walk into a room with Xavier Worthy even and just take a back seat. That's just not Jonte's mindset. He's going to walk in thinking, Xavier, you're a badass. I know we're close and I know you're really good, but I'm better. That's Jonte's mindset. Is he going to be a number one receiver for Texas? No, not this year. I'm not saying that. I'm not expecting that. I'm not crazy. But I do think Jonte works his way into that rotation right off the bat. And then I think his role grows and grows and grows throughout the year. So a lot of guys you could pick from, and I kind of rattled off a bunch of them that I think could make early impacts. But I think Jonte Cook he's just got that mindset where he doesn't care that he's a freshman. He thinks he's the best player on the field. He doesn't care who he's up against or who's in front of him or who's lining up on the other side of the field. So I'll go with Jonte.
So you take Jonte over Niblett?
Man, Niblett's a fantastic athlete, and dude, he's made a lot of waves right in the last month or so. But yeah, I think I would. Again, there's so many to choose from in this question. It's hard to pinpoint. That's why it's a great question. But yeah, I think I still would take Jonte over Niblett. I think Jonte's a little more college ready too. He's trained with margin hooks, and Jonte comes in, I think, college ready to make his move early.
Jason Suchomel, my main man from Orangebloods. Jason, I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on. And by the way, starting next week, you can see Jason here every week. We're going to we agree upon Tuesdays, Jason. Is that
Tuesday? Yes, sir. I think this time on Tuesday instead of Wednesday.
This time around 10:20 every Tuesday, Jason will be here on the show. So get your recruiting questions ready, all that. He'll recap things that happened in the weekend, a look ahead, and maybe every once in a while I'll get you to talk fantasy football because it is that time of year again.
Love it.
So, all right. Thank you so much, Jason. Appreciate it.
I'll see you in a few hours, man. Good.
All right, I'll see you out there. Appreciate him. And so you can take him off the screen. Blake, where you at? Okay, back to me. So Jason Suchomel is right there. Man, we've got a few minutes left. We're going to wrap up. And so we're going to do one more last break. And then we'll go ahead and start to wrap up the show, get into the final drive. Go ahead, Blake. Drop the last one. Guys, take it around.
This Orangebloods recruiting flashback focuses on one of the most infamous recruitments of the last decade, a recruitment that ended with what has forever been remembered as Malikmas. Malik Jefferson was a 5-star prospect by Rivals when he signed with the Longhorns, finishing as the nation's number 28 overall prospect, the second best prospect in Texas, and the number 1 outside linebacker in the country, according to Rivals.com. While Jefferson is sometimes remembered for never quite emerging as a superstar for the Longhorns, look at who was ranked ahead of him in these 2015 in-state rankings and just below him. While Kyler Murray should have been the number 1 prospect in retrospect, Jefferson was easily the best of the top kids in the Rivals rankings that year. What most people remember about the Jefferson recruitment is that it was a close victory over Texas A&M and seemed to launch the Charlie Strong era into the stratosphere. For most of the recruiting process, Jefferson was leaning heavily to Texas A&M, but when the Aggies went through a defensive coordinator search following the 2014 season, Jefferson and A&M coach Kevin Sumlin had a bit of a disconnect, as Sumlin wasn't very open with his plans for a hire, which Jefferson felt was critical information to any decision that he was going to make. That disconnect opened the door for Strong to step in. When Jefferson made his announcement on December 19th, 6 days from Christmas, Strong was able to completely swing the recruitment into UT's direction.
Jefferson chooses the University of Texas at Austin.
Jefferson was part of a 2015 recruiting class that finished 12th in the nation in the final Rivals.com rankings in what turned out to be Charlie Strong's first full recruiting class as coach of the Longhorns.
And if you're a Cowboys fan, you get to see Malik Jefferson out there on the field. Did you guys check out that photo? I think it was Clarence Hill that might have taken it. There was a photo of Malik Jefferson and DeMarvion Overshown lined up together during training camp. So that is kind of cool. I think from what I'm hearing, that Malik might be kind of into the trying to make it as a linebacker. He's been playing some second string, but probably can make it as a special teams guy, which, by the way, nothing wrong with special teams. Like, money's money. You don't turn down money. Do not turn down money at all. We are literally, guys, kind of in the final minutes of this show. For those, let me just kind of recap some of the things that have happened. If you missed it, if you joined us late, so this is obviously the first show, the launch of OB Live, and this is what you'll see me every single day here in the Old Fashioned Sports Show. I think you guys can clearly tell I love old fashions, but you'll be able to see me every day from 8 to 11 a.m. Get your day started right. Drunk Unk, this is Unk here. We're just going to see me in the morning times. I will do some pop-up Unk shows here and there, but this is going to be kind of the main focus of, getting this thing started off right, making sure I give you guys a quality experience. Again, starting off within the morning. Some of the shows that we've had in the past, we're focused in on this one. So for those of you who have always said, man, you got you and Ketch, like, I want to hear what you got to say. Well, now you got me for 3 hours, right? And you'll be able to hear me every single morning. We've got some other show announcements that are coming this morning. Actually, I think once my show is done, we'll announce the second show that's going to get started at noon today. That's going to be from noon to 3. So give you like a 1 hour break. You can actually get some lunch done. So you get some lunch, go to the bathroom, you kind of do a couple of things, and then come on back. And then we're going to have a good show from 3 to 6 today. That thing is going to get started. And so again, we've got 9 hours of original programming, 5 days a week. We're excited about this. We're excited about this project. We're excited about the endeavor. I will give you final Longhorn thoughts, so don't think I'm just going to talk all about the channel. So I still got one more Longhorn thing, but I just got to play, do some housekeeping. Just want to give like a couple of little quick shout outs. You're going to see, obviously, me on screen. Obviously, you're going to see, some of the other shows that I can't say who's on it, but those things are going to be coming up soon. There are going to be some amazing blockbuster shows. Like, you guys are going to be so hyped And make sure you hit like and subscribe, because when you hit subscribe, what that basically does is that's going to let you know when these shows are coming. That's going to it's going to send you the notification so you don't miss out on this. Yes, you've got me from 8 to 11, 12 to 3 is coming. 3 to 6 is coming. We're talking Texas sports. We're talking all kinds of sports. We talked fantasy football. So it's kind of, but that's what's on the agenda so far. If you missed the show so far, and you can want to go back and listen to it earlier in the first hour, I had Alex Dunlap was in here. Actually, Ketch was in here talking about the show and things that are to that effect. The second hour, Alex Dunlap was in. He was in there breaking down everything about the roster, and then actually had some fantasy football advice. We talked running back, so go back and check that out. He was in the second hour, and then we just got done with Jason Suchomel talking recruiting, and Jason will be a permanent fixture on the show going forward. Again, he'll be there on Tuesdays around 10:20, and so that's going to be fun as well. So let me wrap up the show. And by the way, someone asked me about what was behind the wall. So let me do that. And I know when I lean, I'm off centered, and I got this chair because I had my rationale was if gamers sit in chairs for hours to play games, like, well, clearly that must be a comfortable chair. So that's why I end up getting a gaming chair. I don't play games, anything like that. My kids try to get me to play games. I think it's just so they can beat my ass, and they do it pretty. Even my 5-year-old beats me, which is kind of sad to admit. What's behind me is actually a lot of media credentials throughout the years. You can't see them all because there's a bunch of different ones that are here. This is when I covered the Orlando Magic in the 2004-2005 season. Yes, I was an NBA guy. Lakers game that I was at in the 2004-2005 season. Down here, Roy Jones Jr. versus Antonio Tarver. I covered that fight over in Mandalay Bay. This is a Super Bowl credential, Orlando Magic. This is just a small sampling of it. I have tons of these throughout the years. I think there's a Mike Tyson one where I covered him in versus Lennox Lewis. This is SEC Texas one. This is the one I feel like would make you smile the most, because this is the Texas OU one from last season, 49-0. Like, I put that there just so every day that you guys get on the show, you can smile and say to yourself, man, I'm happy. I had a really good time, right? So that one every single day when you see me, you're going to see 49-0 and be happy. At one point, I was a Hall of Fame voter when I covered the NFL for years, and this was kind of the letter that they sent me. In the NFL world, like, being a Hall of Fame voter is like a really prestigious honor. It's kind of like a ring of honor for a team. That it's kind of like that to a certain degree. Maybe a smaller degree like that. Maybe it's like being All-State. Maybe it's something to that effect. But anyway, it still meant something to me. And then there's just a bunch of other credentials for games that I covered that I just kind of put into us being out in Lambeau Field, and there's a bunch of other things that are just there. So that's all these are. These are just media credentials, and there's that. So anyway, that being said, I've got some, I've got some really good people on the line. I've got a lot of friends who are eager to get on the show, that want to get on the show. So at some point, I will have some of my friends who will be there. So in the future, I've got a lot of the national guys who are going to come on. I've got some former players. Warren Sapp told me he'll come on the show. So I'll have a lot of good things, a lot of people that I'm going to lean on to see if I can get on here. So you'll get that. So I'm going to let you know you're going to get tons of Longhorns coverage. We're going to make sure you are covered with that. We're going to talk NFL. We're going to talk all sports when the fall hits. I'll make sure I get the basketball guys on to talk about, basketball. I want to talk about men's and women's, by the way. So if you work in the Texas SID department, hey, now's the time. Cutbacks are coming, guys. Cutbacks coming. Well, they're not coming, but you know what I'm saying. Things happen. Justify your job. It's easy to tell Chris Del Conte the job that you're doing, where you can just send them a link and just say, hey, guys, I put someone on the show. They're like, oh, okay, that's what's up. So that is I wanted, man, there's a topic that I really, really wanted to get into. You know what? And I'm going to end the show like this. I wanted to start off the show like this, but I'm going to end it like this. I'm going to end it on a high note, and I'm going to my final thoughts in what we'll call, you can go ahead and put it on the graphic there, the final drive. Okay. It's my final thoughts as I kind of wrap up. Football practice obviously begins today. And you're gonna have a lot of people who are gonna tell you all the reasons why you shouldn't believe in your Texas Longhorns this season. The people are gonna give you a litany of reasons and a litany of excuses as to why you shouldn't believe, and what did Quinn do? What has he accomplished? And Sark has never won more than 9 games in a season. And they're gonna give you a lot of factual things. And we can't necessarily dispute facts, right? Facts are facts. It is what it is. But I'm telling you, you have reasons to believe. And I'm telling you, you have reasons to be happy. I'm telling you, you have reasons to be enthusiastic and excited about your Longhorns. You've got the quarterback. And that solves that's the biggest problem. And that's the biggest thing that you got to be able to solve on any team. You've got the quarterback, and you can check that box. You already know. What will he be? Great. Would he throw for 4,500 yards and compete for a Heisman? We don't need him to be that. You just need him to be the better version of what he was last season. And if he's just a better version of what he was last season, that's going to be more than enough. You got the offensive line. That's important. You've got to have that. And you've got an offensive line led by a left tackle who's going to be a future NFL pick. You should be happy about that. You've got running backs. Are they improving? Sure. Don't mean you don't got them. There's a difference between having unproven running backs who are going to excel at some point and having Jags. And you don't have a room full of Jags. You just got a room full of guys who haven't done it. And just because you haven't done it doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means you haven't done it. You've got the receivers. Where do you start? Where do you finish? We've been talking about this all day long, right? I mean, you've got the guys, you got the Xaviers, and of course you got the A.D. Mitchells, but go past that. You've got Jordan Whittington. You've got 8 guys who can ball out at any single point. The only question is who and when. You've got the tight end, of course, Jatavian Sanders, arguably the best tight end in the country, but some will say he's the number 2. So solid there. You've got you've got Baron Sorrell. You know what you got there. And he'll be even better. We know about Tavondre Sweat. We know about Byron Murphy. And that should be more than enough. And we'll just see with Ethan Burke, Colton Vasek. It's probably going to be Ethan Burke. Then you've got some guys to at least to win the Big 12. Alabama's a bonus. We're talking about the Big 12 right now. You've got the linebackers. Again, Jalen Ford, you've got some questions behind it. Again, you got guys who hadn't done it, but we didn't know what Jalen Ford was last year until he became Jalen Ford. You got to have faith and believe that Jalen Ford there will be Jalen Ford this year, and then there will be another Jalen Ford that's to come. That's what happens when you stack talent. When you stack talent like that, you don't know who's going to be the person, but you know it's going to happen. You've got DBs out the yin-yang. There's so many guys that are out there. When you're Jaron Thompsons of the world, your John A. Barons of the world, your Ryan Watts of the world, right? Jalen Catalon. You've got tons of DBs. Terrence Brooks is a guy that, is kind of a good DB hybrid kind of guy. You've got so many talented guys. I mean, and now it's just a matter of putting it all together. So that's why when training camp gets started today, when people start talking today, and you hear all the positive things, you hear all the positive buzz, and people are going to want to try to be a killjoy and take it away and tell you, I don't believe in this and this and that. Tell them, shut up. Enjoy it. This team's good enough. Now, if we get in November and December, we'll address it then. But for today, August the 2nd, don't let anybody kill your joy. Go out there and enjoy it. Enjoy reading the first day of practice notes, all that kind of stuff. Also know we'll be here. Got another announcement coming at 12. Or coming really soon about the 12 o'clock show. We've got the 3 o'clock show that's coming as well. And because Spectrum sucks, I'm going to get off this thing. Listen, the old-fashioned show, I will be back tomorrow. So remember what I always say, and I used to always say this on Drunk Unk, but I'll make sure I put this in the old-fashioned show, and I'll close it like this. Live each day like it was your last, because one day it will be. We'll talk soon.